Work in moderation, do what you love. That's all you need for an ideal life. In his sleep, the boy hears a girl's voice trying to wake him up. With her hands on her waist, the girl continues to wake up the sleeping Tori with a stern voice. The girl is very cute, with blonde hair and bright blue eyes. Opening one eye sleepily, the young man remembers that he is now in this world. His hair is disheveled on the pillow, and Tori himself is wrapped in a blanket up to his chin. Office. Silence. There are a lot of computers in the office, where office workers have to work. The black-haired young man opens his tired eyes. The young man is wearing an office suit consisting of black trousers, a white shirt, and a tie. He is sitting on a chair near the monitor. It is 4 a.m. now. The young man has been out for an hour. He sighs, remembering the last time he slept normally. Yesterday he worked all night, and the day before he slept for 2 hours, and he does not remember what happened the day before. The young man smiles tiredly. The young man turns his head, noticing a workaholic like himself next to him. It is a fair-haired young man who is currently sleeping at the table, his head resting on his folded hands in front of him. He is muttering something in his sleep. There is an entire office of employees sleeping at their computers. Some have leaned back in their chairs and are asleep, while others have managed to fall asleep with their faces in a pile of documents. This situation can be described as piles of corpses lying around. At some point, it became normal for employees to spend nights in the company. The young man admits to himself that he wants to take a break from work for any reason he can think of. But he understands that he won't be able to do this because all the employees have families except him. When everyone else is busy with family problems, it will be difficult for him to take a break. This level of busyness is temporary. Once this project is over, everything should go back to normal. Besides, tomorrow is Saturday. Maybe the young man will be able to take a break if he just says he doesn't feel well. If he can just get through this day, he will somehow be able to cope with this workload. And then he can sleep peacefully on his futon. The boy happily imagines himself falling face down on the futon, enjoying the warmth. After that, he can easily eat something delicious, something that tastes better than the bento that you can buy at convenience stores and supermarkets. Now that he thinks about it, there's a new game that was just announced. There's also light manga and anime. The most peaceful time is actually the time when you're thinking about what to do on the weekend. The boy touches his throat. He is tormented by thirst. He takes a bottle of water, but it turns out to be empty. The young man rises from his chair, lamenting that he just wanted to get a drink and sleep. Suddenly his eyes widen. At some point, the young man realizes that he is falling down, as if in slow motion. He understands that this will not end well. His vision is distorted. Stretching his hand forward, the black-haired man wonders if he is going to die now. Most likely this is due to overwork. I wonder if his colleagues will be shocked by this outcome. Most likely no, they will think that he just fell asleep on the floor. It will be funny if they do not understand anything before they start working. However, the young man will not know about this. He is slightly disappointed because there were still so many things he wanted to do. In general, overworking is bad for your health. A bright light flashes. As he thought, living your life, working in moderation, and doing what you enjoy is truly the best way to live. If there is an afterlife, he will work only within reasonable limits and live a leisurely life. There, the young man will live a life in which he does not overexert himself, a life in which he does not rush to have fun and relax. The girl continues to try to wake up the sleeping boy. She indignantly notes that it is already morning. The girl with the ponytail again pushes the boy wrapped in a blanket. A sleepy head appears from under the blanket, sleepily asking if it is really morning already. The boy sits up in bed, stretching sleepily. His hair is tousled from sleep. Stretching, he looks out the window. Several tall buildings are visible. Finally, he explains that he is reincarnated. The girl who tried to wake him up is named Letty. She is the younger sister of the body in which the boy was reborn. Letty, with her hands on her hips, indignantly says that it is time to get to work, so he needs to get up faster. The boy again tries to hide under the blanket, wanting to sleep some more, and noting that children have the privilege of indulging in laziness and falling asleep again. The girl immediately grabs his blanket, yanking it off, and screams that there are no privileges. Letty goes to open the window. There is a light breeze outside, gently swaying the curtains. Wooden and brick houses stand in a neat row on the street. Greenery is blooming. People in carts loaded with something are already appearing on the roads. The young man explains that this is definitely not Japan. This is what is called another world. Houses built of bricks and logs, stone sidewalks, a magical world with horse-drawn carriages, swords, and magic. It is in this world that our hero was reborn. Letty notices with a smile that the young man has finally woken up. Tori mentally notes that he still wants to sleep, but he will just pull himself together. He must work in moderation and live a carefree life. Perhaps his dying wish has been granted, as he, Yadoya Kenta, has been reincarnated in the Isekai world in Rubella City as the son of the owners of the Bird Inn. Although he is genuinely curious to know why a hotel of all things. It is actually a good thing that nothing bad happened before his 12th birthday. Above all, it is a victory that there is not much overtime here. Letty calls out to Tori again, asking him to come down when he is fully awake and dressed. If he does not come down, she and his mother will be very busy. Even if the view outside is beautiful, he shouldn't be late. Although Tori would like to spend more time admiring the beauty outside, because it really is beautiful, he doesn't want to be scolded. So he's going to hurry up and get ready. The young man takes a shirt and trousers out of the chest of drawers. As expected, compared to the clothes from his previous world, this one is more rigid. But in this outfit, he really looks like a villager in the magical world. It's so cool. Tori successfully changes clothes. Looking out the window one last time, the young man smiles. From now on, he will work hard, but not overwork. The young man goes down the stairs. Letty and the other girl have already noticed him. The boy comes downstairs, sleepy and disheveled. His mother immediately sends him to the kitchen to help. However, noticing his external VTD, she notes that the boy is making a damn terrible face, not to mention his hair. Letty agrees that he looks exactly the same as when he woke up. Tori carefully clarifies that it is really that bad. Shara, Tori, and Letty's mother hits him on the lower back and sends him to wash up first. The young man is sent away, given a towel in his hands. After he finishes washing himself, he will have to go to the kitchen. Shara and Letty are cleaning up, wiping down tables and moving chairs. Tori notes that Letty's impatience is something she got from her mother. As he walks down the path to the well, the boy scratches his head, knowing that he has no time to idle. He must get back quickly and help. Tori lowers a bucket into a well to collect water. The boy picks it up, noticing that it fell. One of the common themes in Isekai stories is using knowledge from previous worlds to create a hand-operated water pump or something similar. With a disappointed sigh, Tori admits that the office plankton does not have such knowledge. It seems that there are magical tools in this world, but they are really expensive, and it is unlikely that they will get them. Moreover, it is fun to do this, although inconvenient. The young man lifts the bucket with water. Tori ties a scarf on his head. At that moment, his father, Abel, notices him. Abel asks about the boy washing his face before coming here. The boy nods, showing his still damp bangs. His father understands that Tori wants to sleep, but he needs to get ready. The young man resignedly mentally notes that this is a completely normal expression on his face. If you think about it, no one else has a sleepy face except Tori. First of all, both his mom and his sister are natural beauties, and his dad is a cool, sympathetic guy. But then there's Tori, with a really expressionless face, although his bangs are definitely inherited from his father. I wonder if bangs can be genetically inherited? His father asks why Tori is staring at him so hard. The young man notices that there are lots of tomatoes and cabbage. Abel smiles, saying that the farmer brought them today. These vegetables are still fresh. Abel shares that he is thinking about doing it simply. That is, cooking cabbage rolls with tomatoes. So he asks Tori to chop the vegetables, as he usually does. The young man takes the carrots with a smile, noting that he understood everything. Combined with the ingredients he can find in his previous world, there are ingredients unique to this world as well. Plus, monster meat is very nutritious, and the amount of ingredients available here can't be compared to Tori's previous world. The boy carefully peels a carrot, which will most likely go into the vegetable soup. Tori tries to remember the last time he cooked in the previous world. However, he can't remember. When something bad happened at work, the young man often immersed himself in cooking to escape from reality. Tori remembers how his cooking went in the previous world. First, stir well, then shape, and then simmer. He lifts the lid of the pan. A juicy cutlet is frying in a frying pan. The young man smiles at the memories. In retrospect, he especially enjoyed doing these boring and simple tasks. Abel notes his enthusiasm. He asks with a smile about the early breakfast. However, Letty's indignant cry is heard from the dining room that they haven't prepared anything yet. Tori mentally notes their usual haste, but he also notes that everyday life like this isn't so bad. Letty asks how much longer he needs to cook. Tori considers it, and the young man replies that he will need about 5 more minutes, but if Letty says that she will not have time to finish the chores in time, he does not mind spending another 30 minutes. However, the whole family immediately indignantly asks him not to do this, because before that, the fact that they did not have time was just a joke. So the whole family is sitting at the table, having breakfast. Laughter and conversations can be heard. The young man reminds himself once again that living, working without overworking, and doing what you like is the most important thing in life. After collecting the dirty dishes, Tori takes them to wash, but hears a knock and understands that it is time to open, because customers are waiting. His father tells him to go to the guests after he has sorted out the dishes. The young man nods. A fair-haired young man with shining eyes comes towards Tori. He is wearing a light shirt with ruffles and a collar, and dark pants with a corset underneath. He greets Tori with a friendly smile, noting what a wonderful morning it is, and asks how they are doing. Tori mutters that he is surprised by Mikhail's shining mood. If there was no morning work, and if the young man could indulge in a peaceful sleep, it would be better. Mikhail laughs that Tori has not changed at all. His favorite pastime is still sleeping. Mikhail is an aristocrat who looks like a prince. Tori stares at Mikhail, making him uneasy. Tori simply says that the aristocrat is glowing. Tori notes that Mikhail looks great today. Mikhail agrees with a smile, admitting that his day begins with making himself presentable. Continuing to look at the aristocrat's radiant appearance, Tori is surprised by his energy. If you're wondering why such nobles frequent this commoner's tavern, it's probably because he really likes the dishes from Tori's past that he occasionally cooks here. For example, Mikhail looked at the ham chop with shining eyes. At first, Tori thought he had just wandered into a random tavern out of the blue. Michael had just happened upon Tori's new food, which was truly an act of awe. After that, the aristocrat fell in love with Tori's father's food, so he has been living here for a long time. Tori says that his father is cooking the main dish today. Letty and Shara greet the guest with a smile. Mikhail immediately responds to the greeting with a bright smile. Bowing slightly, Mikhail compliments the girls. He gently takes Letty's hand in his and kisses the back of her palm. No matter how many times Tori tries, he can't wrap his head around the grand and affectionate gesture of kissing someone's palm. But Michael definitely knows what he's doing. Plus, Letty and his mom don't see it as a big deal. At least Mikhail doesn't try to kiss Shara's hand. That's because Abel will be jealous. At that moment, Shara and Tori turn towards the counter, noticing Abel's slightly tense face. Shara smiles sweetly at him. In any case, it's good to know that the parents get along. Mikhail asks with interest, is the sour smell he smells tomatoes? Tori confirms. He has fresh tomatoes and cabbage now. Today's breakfast is cabbage rolls in tomato sauce. Mikhail, his eyes half closed as if he were reciting a poem, beams as he praises the dish, noting that the cabbage rolls taste as wonderful as they look. The green cabbage stands motionless and proud in the middle of the Red Sea. The man who came up with this is clearly a genius. Mikhail hands the breakfast to Tori. His side dish, as usual, is bread and red wine. Tori nods, accepting the order. The aristocrat is truly a personality with his own unique way of doing things. Mikhail goes to the table and takes something out of his pocket. This is a personal tablecloth and personal cutlery. Mikhail covers the table with a patterned tablecloth. A plate and a set of cutlery consisting of 2 forks, a spoon, and a knife also appear on the table. Tori wonders in her mind where Mikhail gets all this from, amazed. As long as the aristocrat doesn't bother other people, everything is fine. Now, when one table looks out of place, like it's from a high-class restaurant, guests start turning to look at Mikhail. This young man likes to be willful, but it doesn't cause problems. When things are okay, he shares his table without thinking. He's a good man. That's why we let him be more free in our tavern. Tori goes to the counter and voices an order, which consists of 1 portion of cabbage rolls in tomato sauce and bread with wine. Tori, carrying a tray with a bottle of wine, a glass, bread in a wooden bowl, and a plate of cabbage rolls, approaches Mikhail, asking for forgiveness for the wait. Mikhail notes that the smell of tomatoes is really good. Tori thanks him and asks if he should get some wine. It is a high-quality wine that Mikhail bought. Tori had the chance to take a sip, and it was simply an amazing, smooth red wine. It was so good that the young man wondered if the red wine he drank in his past life was red wine. It must be worth 10 gold coins. Carefully holding the bottle of wine, Tori mentally warns himself not to drop it. Mikhail watches him work. The young man pours wine into a glass. Mikhail closes his eyes, noting the pleasant aroma of the wine. With a smile, Michael tells Tori that he's doing pretty well. Tori pours the wine so that the aristocrat can see the brand, and also the boy doesn't spill a single drop. Tori is a completely different person than when he first served him wine. It's incomparable. With a beaming smile, Mikhail promises that from now on he will take the young man into account. Tori throatily replies that this is because there must always be a certain person who would pour the wine very beautifully. In truth, Mikhail thinks that Tori can become a waiter in a high-class restaurant. Tori says with a calm face that he is going to inherit the inn, so he does not need it at all. Not to mention that this job requires good manner and elegance, which will take some work. Mikhail winks and says that if the young man changes his mind, he should definitely let him know. He is ready to help introduce Tori. Slightly confused, Tori thanks him, but hopes that this is a half-serious, half-joking conversation. Mikhail prepares his fork, because he is going to see what is inside his dish. The aristocrat carefully cuts one of the cabbage rolls, immediately noticing the large amount of filling. Warm steam rises from them. Mikhail's cheeks flush and his eyes sparkle as he pricks a piece of the cabbage roll. With a satisfied smile, Mikhail notes the soft cabbage with the acidity of the tomato and the bursting umami coming from the meat. He admits that he can't enjoy it at all. Tori says with a smile that he's glad he liked it. Michael may go to more expensive restaurants or eat more expensive food, but he really is not like the others. Mikhail continues to enjoy the dish with a satisfied smile. Tori notes that their tavern, the Bird, is lucky to have good customers. The tavern is quite crowded. Some have just arrived, some are already eating. Tori notes that someone has arrived earlier than usual. Letty, holding dirty dishes in her hands, suggests that perhaps the smell of tomatoes is the cause. A dark-haired young man in armor approaches them. He wants to rent a room here. Letty runs to the reception with a smile. She leaves the cafeteria to their guys. Tori and Shara look after her in surprise. Tori is a little tense when he realizes Letty has left. The job at the front desk involves the following tasks. First, having the guest write down the number of days he is staying, then giving instructions regarding the room, and finally handing over the key. The job at the front desk is quite simple. Letty and Tori's mom says she'll serve all the tables here herself, and asks him to help with the tables behind. Tori is disappointed that he'll have to walk back and forth from the kitchen a lot. Shara immediately asks if the boy has a problem with that. Tori says no. Behind him, there are requests to place an order, so his mom asks him to hurry up. Tori walks resignedly to the back tables, knowing he can't idle any longer. It's only going to become more and more energy-consuming. He wants to be productive so he can get this over with. This view combines all the qualities of a visitor, even the status of an adventurer, which happened in other fantasy worlds. 3 people are descending the stairs to the tavern. They are quietly talking among themselves. Someone notes the pleasant smell of tomatoes. Someone says that he can't stand tomatoes. And someone is outraged by the waste of good food. Tori mentally notes that these are devils descending, and wishes them a good morning. He is greeted by 2 young men and 1 girl. One of the young men is fair-haired. This is the swordsman Ralph. He is wearing ordinary trousers and a light-colored jacket with a cape. The second young man is dark-haired. This is the archer Sik. He is also wearing ordinary trousers, a long shirt, and a cape on top. The young man apologizes for the noise this morning. And the girl. This is the sorceress. Helmina, she is wearing a dress with a cape, and her dark hair is pulled back into a ponytail. She asks with a smile about today's breakfast. Narrowing his eyes, Tori explains that today's breakfast is stuffed cabbage rolls in tomato sauce, served with bread. He notes that the boys are noisy as usual, so he doesn't mind. Ralph, Helmina, and Sik These three come from the same village and are very close to each other, and they stay in the inn as a group of three. There are usually a lot of disagreements between teams with representatives of different genders, so they are quite a sight. Helmina and Sik immediately order cabbage rolls, and Ralph wants to choose something from the menu. Tori goes to give the order to her father. With a sweet smile, Helmina notes the pleasant smell and asks if Ralph is sure he won't eat it. Ralph looks at her skeptically, saying that he can't do anything about it. Sik calmly tells him that if Ralph changes his mind, then he needs to talk about it in advance. Sik is ready to share. Ralph indignantly clenches his fists, because that's what he would have said. Tori brings Helmina and Sik's portions. Helmina is surprised by how quickly they are served. There is a plate of cabbage rolls and a salad on the table. Helmina praises it admiringly, noting that it looks very appetizing. The boys cannot stop praising the dish, noting the softness of the cabbage rolls and the delicious tomato sauce. Ralph looks at his friends with envy. He falls onto the table and screams that his stomach thinks his throat has been cut. Tori calmly hands him a portion of food. This vegetable soup is Tori's father's creation, and the sausages too. Ralph thanks him sincerely, starting to actively taste the food. He says that it is very good, and he will express his gratitude to Tori's father later. Ralph asks if Tori would like to make beef steaks with mayonnaise, as he loves them. Tori thinks about it and replies that he slept all morning, so he couldn't make them. Ralph is disappointed. Beef steaks are a specialty from Tori's previous world, and they are served with mayonnaise, a condiment that doesn't exist in this world. As for Tori, a person who is not a cook, he has memorized the recipe well. It is relatively easy to make, so Tori makes it from time to time. Just like Michael, Ralph happened to pass by the hotel. One day he tried some of Tori's food and became a prisoner of his food. Tori silently asks herself to be more careful next time. Helmina notices that Ralph really likes the dish. Sik asks if the blonde man begged like that last time. Ralph complains that it's because he only eats them here. Ralph puts his hands together in a prayer gesture, smiles sweetly and winks, asking Tori to cook his favorite food. Tori mentally notes that the blonde guy is trying to act adorable, but he's a guy. But honestly, Tori wouldn't mind making it, but his morning nap would have to be cut way short, so no way. So that means he can either do it after lunch or at night. He mentally begs not to do it today, because Tori has a lofty mission to keep his afternoon nap handy. So Tori says that she will cook Ralph a steak next time. Ralph can't believe it and asks him not to forget about it. Helmina, watching this scene, mentally evaluates Tori's character positively. Sik, sighing, notes that it will take, at worst, a month. Ralph, waving vigorously, yells at Tori that he will stay here for him. Tori comments that his childish behavior is funny, and then he sees that the number of visitors has quickly increased, so he needs to hurry. From somewhere, a loud voice is heard demanding beer. A man with a thick beard and slicked back hair is loudly proclaiming that he wants ale very badly. He is a dwarf. As soon as he notices Tori, he immediately continues to demand that the ale be brought quickly, otherwise he will become a hermit. Tori nods. The dwarfian has a strong build with short limbs, an old face overgrown with a beard. Yes, this is the same dwarf that can be found in fantasy. So Tori, his family, Michael, Ralph, and the rest are humans. But this world is full of other creatures. Palaces and elves are just a few of the many humanoid species. At first, Tori felt nervous around them, but now he looks at them as normal people. This adaptability is a special characteristic of us humans, and Tori thinks it's cool. Tori walks to the counter, hearing the dwarf asking him to hurry up. A blonde girl sits next to the dwarf, her hair loose, elven ears peeking out from underneath. She points out that this is stupid. Couldn't the dwarf have found a better time to drink alcohol? The dwarf is indignant, and the girl asks him to be gentle. The girl with elven ears reminds that her ears are slightly sensitive. The dwarf apologizes. In video games and novels, elves and dwarves are notorious for fighting each other, but not here. The dwarf continues the conversation, reminding her that dwarves love water. The girl, however, does not want to continue this conversation. The dwarf indignantly shouts that alcohol is the water of life. Without it, he will be even drier. And shouts that this is no different from how elves eat vegetables. The girl calmly explains that without vegetables, elves cannot survive. However, The elf is forced to say that alcohol is drunk simply for pleasure and not because it is important for life. The dwarf immediately, indignantly asks what she said. Continuing to loudly complain, the dwarfian turns to the elf. Does she really want to compete with a dwarf? The elf gets up angrily and suggests resolving this issue wisely. Tori interrupts their staring match, saying that the ale is ready, so they need to calm down. The dwarf immediately softens, clutching his mug of ale. The elf thanks Tori for stopping all this. Tori tells her not to worry about it. Tori, as she wipes down tables, reflects that there are people who are simply incompatible, regardless of racial dynamics. The young man sits down tiredly on a chair. The flow of customers has finally died down. Sometimes it happens like this. You can sit down so that customers don't get angry. Breaks after rush hour are the best time. This is a big change from Tori's previous world. The only people left are the lodgers, who have stopped making noise and wandering, who came here to have a good rest, and the adventurers, Helmina and her companions. The girl asks her companions what orders they must fulfill today. Ralph says that he is tired of collecting medicinal herbs, so he needs to start fulfilling orders. Sick agrees that housework is boring. Plus they have enough money, why not change the environment and take on a big task? Tori watches them, realizing that they are in a meeting now, wondering how long it will last. Helmina stands up and asks with a smile to check their things. They need to decide which tools they will take first before accepting the order. The boys nod. Tori notices that their meeting has ended. He wonders about the orders the seekers were talking about. Indeed, Tori loves stories about adventurers, reading novels about them and playing video games. But he personally does not need to be tied to adventures. And this is not fantasy. Life and death are real, and this is a real problem. It is really harder than Tori imagined. He hopes that Helmina and her gang will not be offended. Helmina notices his gaze. The guys say with a smile that they will try their best on the mission and will definitely come back here. Tori's eyes widen in surprise. He waves them goodbye. The hotel is a place where people can come together. In a place like this, a job where you have to deal with people like these, it makes Tori busier, but well, he's starting to think that there's nothing so bad about it. Letty suddenly appears next to him, startling Tori. She complains that Tori sleeps too much, there aren't many customers here, so she asks if the young man would like to be the doorman instead of her. Tori agrees, standing behind the reception desk. At least he can dream a little here. Someone comes down the stairs. The tavern suddenly becomes dark. Tori doesn't understand why everyone is talking in whispers. A figure in knightly armor stands behind him. Darkness reigns around her. However, the figure turns away and walks away. The young man tries to stop the visitor. The blonde visitor turns around and sees the knight standing right in front of him. The armored figure extends his hand towards the boy, and he gets down on one knee, holding out something to the fair-haired young man. The visitor notices that it is his wallet. It must have accidentally fallen under the table. The visitor thanks the knight, to which a blush appears on the armor. Tori watches this scene warily and remains silent, and as usual, is perplexed. When there are skirmishes or duels between other nobles, or when merchants and nobles need to be accompanied, these warriors, mercenaries, are always a priority. Tori asks what the visitor wishes. The armored figure remains silent, and the youth notes that he is as silent as ever. Urgat is a mercenary who has been living at the inn for some time, but Tori still doesn't understand his gender. Tori mentally notes that the mercenaries are fighting against humans, but it seems that Urgat is also fighting monsters. A young man at the table calls out to Tori and asks about today's menu. Tori immediately tells him that the main dish of the day is cabbage rolls and tomato sauce. The young man wants to order them. Tori specifies that he wants to order Urgat. If anyone asks Tori why he doesn't know whether Urgat is male or female, it's because Urgat has never spoken in all the time he's been here. Also, Urgat always wears armor, so it's hard to guess his gender. Tori hopes they can talk a little today. Urgat thinks about it and points to the man sitting next to him, indicating that he will order the same as him. Tori asks if bread is needed as a side dish. Urgat nods. Tori was scared of the knight at first, but Urgat is the type who doesn't resort to unnecessary violence. It's rare to meet such a kind soul. Suddenly, Urgat starts to panic when a small bird lands on his metal finger. Tori notices that Urgat is not really familiar with animals. Abel shouts to Tori that everything is ready and he can take the order. Letty volunteers to help Tori. She takes the order and takes it to Olgat. Even now, she ran to the reception. With a bright smile, Letty introduces Olgat to her father's signature dish of the day, cabbage rolls. He stuffs you because it will prepare you for work. Olgat nods as Letty tells him to enjoy his food and tells him not to worry as she continues to stand by his side. Letty asks to ignore her and try the dish. Tori mentally calls her sister a scheming scoundrel. Tori realizes that Letty wants to see Olgath's face. She continues to stand next to him, her eyes sparkling as she looks at the mercenary. He looks at the girl with concern. Suddenly, Olgath picks up the utensils. He spears a soft cabbage roll and cuts off a small piece. Tori and Letty wait impatiently to see if Olgath will remove his helmet. The mercenary reaches for the helmet. Olgath lifts his helmet a little and sticks a fork of food in there. Letty and Tori are outraged. Letty asks if it was good, and when she gets a positive answer, she says she'll be sure to tell her father that Olgath enjoyed it. Tori mentally notes how good his scary little sister is for single-handedly changing the subject. The inn continues to operate. New guests arrive and Letty greets them. Shara washes the dishes and Abel cooks the food. Tori ties his headscarf and, since the cafeteria is less busy, he can clean the guest houses and check the inn's equipment. But before that, he still has unfinished business. After all, there are still customers who haven't woken up for breakfast. Those who sleep late need to be woken up. The boy walks up the stairs. Honestly, they don't need to wake them up, because it's their fault that they didn't wake up in time. But Tori wants them to taste his father's cooking. Especially since they already paid for the food. Tori feels bad when they skip meals. The room of the person who needs to be woken up is in the back. The boy takes a breath. This room always smells of flowers. Because of this, he cannot remain calm. The boy knocks on the door, addressing the guest. He notices that the girl has almost slept through breakfast. The girl tosses and turns in bed and says that she wants to sleep more. Tori insists that she can't sleep anymore, because she said the same thing yesterday, and because of that, she didn't have time to have breakfast. The boy sighs and asks permission to come in. Lying on the pillow, the completely naked girl greets Tori. Tori wishes her a good morning and asks her to come to her senses so she can have breakfast. The young man notes the chaos around her. Dresses, shoes, and bags are scattered around, and there are a large number of bottles of alcohol on the table. Natalia asks to let her sleep some more. The girl yawns, and tears form in the corners of her eyes. She admits that she just returned from the brothel. This girl's name is Natalia, and she is a courtesan. Unlike normal people, she goes to work at night. She leads such a lifestyle and returns early in the morning. Tori understands that she worked at night, but the girl still needs to eat properly. A healthy body is important. Natalia sits up in bed, and Tori is glad that she understood him. The girl is sitting on the bed completely naked. Tori screams in embarrassment, asking where her clothes are. Tori turns away and asks why Natalia isn't wearing pajamas. The girl yawns and says she can't sleep in her clothes. Tori is indignant that she should cover her body instead of her mouth. Tori looks around sheepishly, noting that her figure is the embodiment of every male desire. Curves in every desired place, and shapes worthy of sculpture. A figure that all women want. Especially her breast shape. Tori tries to get back to her mission. The girl asks with a smile if the boy saw what interested him. The boy looks away in shock and says no. Nothing like that. It's terrible, even one strange look, and Tori will be called a little pervert for the rest of his life. The girl invites him to touch her, assuring him that he won't have to pay. Tori refuses and asks the girl to get up earlier next time, otherwise she will be left without breakfast. Natalia giggles quietly and nods. There is a knock at the door, and Natalia asks Tori to help her change. Tori reminds her that he is an inn worker, not a servant. The girl tries the breakfast and admires the taste. However, she is very tired, but she admits that the opportunity to tease Tori woke her up a little. Tori understands her because he felt that way after working overtime. At this moment, Tori realizes that she can't help but sympathize with Natalia. Letty runs up to the girl and worriedly helps fix the slipping strap of her dress. Natalia thanks the girl. Letty scolds her that she shouldn't be so carefree just because there are few customers in the tavern. Because Natalia is very beautiful, so she shouldn't stand out. Tori exhales. When he is with Letty, he feels safe. Shara sternly tells the children it's time to clean their rooms. Tori and Letty nod. By mid-morning, most of the guests are at work, leaving their rooms empty. This is the best time to clean. Shara and Letty will clean the second floor, and Tori will clean the third floor. Tori is unhappy about this. The third floor is mostly double rooms, so couples should book there. Yesterday there were a few guests who looked like couples. Tori complains that he is not paid enough for this. Letty immediately asks if he would like her to clean there with him so that he does not have to do it alone. Shara immediately interjects, reminding him that there are a lot of women on the second floor, so there is a lot of work. Letty wishes Tori luck with her job, and their mother tells Tori with a look that it is too early for Letty to clean such rooms. Tori mentally notes that Letty is under the reliable protection of her mother. After cleaning, Tori is very exhausted. He is glad that he finally finished cleaning these rooms because the last two rooms were filled with a lot of footprints, and because of this, Tori needed more time to clean everything. After that, they collect the laundry baskets. When the young man is done with this, he will have free time. There is only a little time left. Tori remembers the order of the laundry of their tavern. For a small fee, they can wash the clothes of the guests, but weapons and special items are excluded. First, the guests can put things and towels in the basket that stands in their room. Then the workers will take them and wash them, and then return them back to the room. Some comments from visitors who occasionally use the laundry service. Mikhail mentions that his clothes are expensive, but the towel is excellent. Helmina is embarrassed by her underwear, so she washes everything herself. Natalia is happy to give all the clothes to the workers. Tori turns to his mother, who is hanging out wet laundry with Letty, and tells her that he has cleaned up the laundry room. Shara thanks him and tells him to leave the rest with her. She praises her children and lets them go for a short break. The children exclaim joyfully. Their mother may seem like a strict person, but in reality she is attentive and kind. What Tori means is that, compared to his mother, in his previous life, the company didn't give him a life at all. He was completely occupied with work. Tori forces himself not to think about it. Tori curses silently, reminding himself that the break is too short, so he can't waste time on this. Letty turns to him to ask what he plans to do. Tori, with a serious face, says that he wants to take a nap. Letty is surprised. Letty asks if the boy wasn't tired in the morning. She puts her hands behind her head. The boy admits that it was too little. Letty, pouting, does not take her eyes off Tori. The young man understands that the girl wanted to play with him, but he is too sleepy. What to do? But Letty immediately turns away calmly, saying that she wants to visit her little sister Ira. Tori waves her hand, mentally thanking her younger sister for her concern. Tori yawns and walks towards his room to take a nap. He hopes he can. As Tori climbs the stairs, he thinks that if his mother is busy, Letty will wake him up anyway, so he can afford to fall into a dead sleep. The young man enters the room and falls onto the bed with a jump, rolling contentedly. He throws his arms out to the sides. Tori closes his eyes contentedly. It's as if the fatigue accumulated during all the morning work will leave him. His favorite place now is his soft mattress. A good break is a sacred thing that everyone should love. A place that leaves workers without rest is... Tori doesn't finish the thought, settling on the fact that people simply can't stand stress for long periods of time. After all, that's the reason he died in his previous life. Lying on the bed, the young man reminds himself that it is better to work moderately, and to rest during work is the main thing. Gradually, the young man's eyes close and he falls asleep. Letty has been trying to wake Tori for a long time. She slaps the sleepy boy on the cheek, but he only sleepily opens his eyes. As Letty walks down the stairs with her sleepy brother, she reminds him that there will be a lot going on during dinner, so he should help. Squinting sleepily, Tori ties his scarf, wondering how daylight has come so quickly. The tavern is very crowded, and conversations can be heard all around. At lunchtime, most of the customers are not guests but people working in the area, such as carpenters or peddlers. Sometimes travelers or adventurers come. However, it is not as if there are only people from our area who come here. Unless they need to be very close to their workplace, many workers prefer to go to distant shops or kiosks to get lunch if it is nearby. However, some come here specifically to heal their souls. For example, to meet your idol. The customer places an order and asks Letty to bring one fried vegetable. Then Letty sees the customer off with a smile. Apparently, for some, her smile becomes a refuge from the hard days. The young man adds an extra large portion of steak to his order. Letty warns that it will cost more. The young man smiles and says, "Okay, can't the girl spare him this at least once?" Letty sternly replies that there is no special treatment. The young man looks at the girl in surprise. With a bright smile and a shining look, Letty says that a real man should pay well to eat a lot of steaks. The young man immediately stands up enthusiastically and, showing off his muscles, confirms his order for an extra-large steak because he is a real man. Letty thanks him with a smile, and Tori mentally notes that things are heating up. The girl runs up to her father with a smile and voices her order: fried vegetables and 1 large steak. The father asks worriedly if the young man did something to her, and Letty reassures him, saying that he is too worried. Letty calmly says she's used to it. Her father exhales, and Tori notes that she's become strong. Letty quietly mutters that her mother and older sister Isla taught her how to deal with customers who are in a bad mood. Abel and Tori look at Letty in shock, who turns around with a bright smile upon hearing the order. Tori swallows, telling her father that Letty has really gotten strong. Abel agrees with his words. The tavern is quite busy. Tori is clearing dirty dishes from the tables when he hears Mikhail calling him. Mikhail notes how busy he is. With a kind smile, the aristocrat notes that it must be hard to be busy, but Tori can't give up. After all, people love this inn so much. Tori sighs. Mikhail is called out. Tori notices that the aristocrat was expected here. He is called out by 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. They wave their hands at him, pointing to the place next to them. Mikhail approaches them with a smile, because today they have to save this place for him. Compared to church work, it's easier. One of the boys notes that they also want something tasty. That's right, so that Mikhail can sit down, he will help the children from the orphanage. As a reward, these children will receive free lunches. Mikhail smiles and says that today's special is stuffed cabbage rolls in tomato sauce. Tori, looking at them, thinks that maybe this is a depraved, bourgeois way of doing business. But this scene brings tears to Tori's eyes. Sitting at the table with the kids, Mikhail shares how good the cabbage rolls were when he tried them. Suddenly, Tori is deafened by Letty's loud scream, because they are short of dishes, and he urgently needs to get them. When the frantic lunch period ends, traffic slows down. When this happens, Tori and his family can turn off the cafeteria's ready mode. So at this time, Letty takes the sun-dried laundry off the line. Holding a laundry basket, Tori notes that it is perfect for sleeping. The girl immediately becomes indignant that the boy only thinks about sleep. And then she remembers that her father complained that Tori does not want to learn how to cook. Tori mentally remembers that he had cooking experience in his past life because he was a single man. But when he looks at his father, he realizes that he still has many ways to develop. Besides, the work in the kitchen is more difficult than what he is currently burdened with. Tori turns away, silently asking his father for forgiveness because he has no desire to become a chef in the future. But out loud he says that he is ready to give it a chance. Letty, smiling, follows him, asking to try the dishes they will prepare. Abel looks at his son suspiciously. Tori calmly asks him not to look like that, because he hasn't said anything yet. Tori has a gut feeling that his father is going to ask him to do something uncomfortable. His father says it's not uncomfortable, it's just something that needs to be done. Tori flatly refuses. His father is called. Abel and Tori look around in surprise. They are the adventurers, Ralph, Sick, and Helmina. They apologize for disturbing them. Abel asks what they would like to clarify. Helmina says that they would like to take on a mission to subjugate the rock ants, but Helmina and the boys aren't so sure of themselves, so they want to ask their opinion. Tori stops her. He's just curious why she decided to ask his dad of all people. He thinks that his dad is a good cook, but he probably doesn't know much about monsters. The guys look at him in surprise, not understanding how he can not know. It turns out that Abel comes from a family of adventurers, and now that he's retired, he's a former adventurer. Tori's eyes widen in disbelief. How could he not know this for 12 years? Abel laughs, saying that the boy simply didn't ask. Then he turns to the boys to answer their question. Stone ants have their own peculiarity. They have a very strong exoskeleton, which makes attacks ineffective. But they have weak points, eyes and joints. You need to aim and shoot well, which makes them difficult opponents. Sick immediately notes with disappointment that nothing will work, because he will not be able to do something so complicated. Abel turns to Helmina and Ralph, warning them about the possibility of acid appearing, so they need to wear good armor. The guys immediately admit that they were blinded by the big reward and did not think about the risks at all. They decide to consider other tasks after all. If the guys have a list with them, then Abel can help with choosing tasks for them. But in exchange, the guys will have to bring him some ingredients. Helmina agrees with a joyful smile and immediately runs to get the mission list. Tori looks at her in surprise, not understanding whether Helmina respects his father so much or simply trusts him too much. With a smile, the boys thank Abel for his help and go hunting for eggplant monsters. Abel reminds them of the grass settings. They nod that they remember everything. The door slams behind the adventurers. Tori asks his father why he decided to become an innkeeper. Abel admits that being an adventurer means being in constant danger. It's high risk, but also high reward. It's not uncommon for people to die on missions. He asks Tori if such a life doesn't have much meaning. Tori must understand this. The young man thinks and nods, because why paint with life when you have a lot of money? Abel smiles and says that he cooked for many years, and he liked to see how someone enjoyed his cooking. But why did he become the owner of an inn and not a restaurant? Abel admits that as a former adventurer, the inn is like a second home to him. And for those who come here, for various reasons, they do not have a place to call home. So Abel wanted to create a place they can always return to. Abel admits he thinks that's the biggest reason. And Tori understands. People like the eccentric brother Mikhail, the trio of adventurers, the slightly scruffy sister Natalia, and the perpetually armored mercenary Ulgat. They ended up in the same house with these people. Tori is sure it's because his father tried to create such a place. It's not so bad. Abel is glad that his son understands him. Abel immediately says that this is another reason to become a cook here. But Tori is happy here as a regular clerk. His father immediately turns to him indignantly, asking if he really hates cooking. Tori honestly admits that he hates being busy. With tears in his eyes, Abel pushes Tori away, and he asks if their mother was an adventurer too. Letty asks if their mother was perhaps a simple country girl their father met during an adventure. Tori's eyes sparkle with interest. Abel is surprised by their energy. Letty asks with an ecstatic look if this is the beginning of their parents' love story. She demands to know too. Tori asks her if she knew their father was an adventurer. Letty admits that she thought about it because her father always communicates so much with other adventurers. Tori mentally feeds himself because he did not even think about it. Letty admits that she asked her mother about it, but she doesn't want to tell. That's why she's very interested in how their mom and dad started dating. Tori also admits her interest. Abel immediately and calmly sets a condition. If Tori becomes a cook, he'll tell. Letty immediately persuades her brother, but Tori is categorically against it. Tori calmly says that he doesn't need to hear his father's answer. The young man will just go to the Adventurers Guild and ask there. Abel looks at his son in shock and indignation. He says that this is a depraved place. Who knows what they will say to his little Letty there. Letty and Tori look at their father expectantly. Abel scratches his head. He has nothing to hide. Their mother was an adventurer too. They were on the same team. The children are shocked to imagine their mother in an adventurer's armor. Tori doubts. After all, his mother today has a figure and no muscles. Tori suggests that perhaps their mother was a sorceress. Abel confirms that their mother really did help and kill monsters from behind with spells. Tori, dumbfounded, asks if their mother can really use spells. Letty runs to call her mother. Letty, looking at Cherie with admiration, brings her mother to them. With one hand on her hip, she asks Abel, slightly displeased, if he really told the children about their past. Abel thought she wouldn't mind if he told them a little about their past. Tori leaks to her parents why they didn't tell them they were adventurers. Abel says that his friends were adventurers too, but he didn't want to give his children the idea of being alone that his parents did. Shara admits that she, like their father, prefers to live the life of an ordinary innkeeper rather than an adventurer. Tori and Letty stare at their parents. Is it because of them that they did this? Letty asks if Tori has ever thought about being an adventurer. Tori says he never has. Neither has Letty. Shara nods knowingly, because she and her father had thought about it. The children ask with interest what kind of sorceress their mother was. Shara looks at them slightly confused. She was a master of killing monsters efficiently. She killed them with the least amount of magic. Using magic efficiently is very important. The kids immediately imagine their mother in a huge hat, a dress with a corset, a long cape, and with a magic staff. Shara sheepishly admits that her mana supply was low, so she had no choice but to spend it efficiently. Letty wonders why her mother wanted to marry their father. Abel is also curious about the matter, so he stands next to his daughter and waits for his confused wife to answer. Looking away sheepishly, Shara admits that Abel has protected her from monsters many times, and over time she began to see him as her hero. Abel looks at her with confusion, not believing his ears. Still embarrassed, Abel approaches his wife, who is standing with her eyes downcast in embarrassment. Letty notices the atmosphere of love floating around. Even Tori is a little embarrassed. A realization strikes Tori when he says that their mother has a sweet side. His mother immediately squeezes his cheek, saying that she will show him the strength of a true adventurer. Tori yawns. Afternoon is the most relaxing break. There are almost no clients, so you can sleep. The young man closes his eyes. Suddenly, he is told not to relax at the counter. A girl with short hair greets Tori. She is wearing a light shirt and a dark skirt, into which the shirt is tucked. Tori mentally wants to scold her for disturbing his sleep, but the girl immediately understands what the boy is thinking about. The girl says that everything is fine and Tori does not need to apologize. Tori replies that one should not relax, because time and money always need to be used. The girl notes that he is very clever with his words. This girl's name is Isla. She is Letty's childhood friend, and her family, like Letty and Tori's family, owns an inn. The young man knows her well. It is possible that Letty learned special techniques for dealing with customers in a bad mood from her. Sitting on a chair, Tori asks if the girl doesn't have a job. It's very hypocritical of her. Winking, Isla brags that today is her day off. Tori complains with envy that he had to work since the morning. Isla giggles quietly, because she knows about it. Suddenly, Isla is called from behind, causing her to tense up. It's Shara and Letty coming down the stairs. Isla greets them happily. Isla apologizes for disturbing them from their work, but Tori and Letty's mom reassures her that they are completely free now. Letty immediately asks if her little sister came just like that. After all, she really wants to play. Letty notes that Isla is dressed for home. Isla smiles and points out that home and street clothes are completely different. Letty smiles and agrees. Tori makes a mental note that she wishes Isla would come over to Letty's house to play more often. Unfortunately, this was probably the girl's only day off. He calls himself a sleepyhead, so he wants Letty to occupy Isla. A customer enters the tavern. Tori greets the client and says about the services that she will charge 1,500 merils for a bedroom and breakfast. The client pays. In this world, the currency is platinum, gold, silver, copper coins, and pennies. Trade is carried out using these coins, counting from the top. 100,000, 10,000, 1,000, 100 are the units of measurement of the Marilla. By the way, the price at the Tori family's inn is only 1,500 merils, which is very cheap. Because of the reasonable price, delicious food, and hospitality, their inn is very popular. Tori thinks that if he were the boss here, he would consider raising the price to reduce the number of customers, but it's too difficult. The young man hands the guest the key to his room, for which he is thanked. Then the client signs the paper. Tori then thanks the guest and explains that his room is on the second floor, number 201. To get there, you need to use the stairs, which are behind. The client nods. As the lodger walks towards the stairs, Tori wonders if he was talking to a knight or something. The man seemed very cool to the young man. Then he sees that Isla and his mother and sister have already left. Tori turns around to see the girls sitting at the table, chatting. Letty and Isla are animatedly discussing something, while Shara and Natalia are watching the girls with interest. Tori realizes that this is some kind of girl talk. He moves slightly towards the girls to listen to what they are talking about. But Letty immediately notices this and tells him not to relax. Tori mentally laments in disappointment that because he is a guy, he cannot join them. Tori sits on a chair at the reception desk, looking at the ceiling. What a wonderful feeling. Happy voices are heard here and there. It reminds the young man that he is not alone as he was in the previous world, when he fell asleep in the silence at his workplace. If he had lived like this in the past, he could have become happy. Suddenly, Isla appears in front of his face, frightening him. The girl asks him not to look at her as a ghost and asks him to come with her. A plate of strawberry pie appears in front of Tori. Tori is surprised and asks if it is for him. The girl explains that she didn't want him to miss it. Natalia shares her impressions that the pie is very tasty, so he should definitely try it. Letty also praises the pie and thanks to her sister Isla for it. Isla smiles happily at the comments and then asks Tori to try it. The boy takes a piece of the pie in his hand and takes a bite. It's soft inside and crispy on the outside. The sweet and sour taste of the strawberries explodes in his taste buds. Tori's cheeks slightly flushed with emotion. Licking his lips, the boy thanks Isla for such a delicious pie. The girl smiles, saying that she is glad that Tori liked the pie. Tori praises Isla. Even he, not a big fan of sweets, liked this pie. Isla looks at him in surprise, not understanding how he finished so quickly. The girl thought about getting a cup of juice from his father before Tori finished tasting the pie. The boy rubs his eyes and says, "That sounds good." He grumbles a little because Isla treats them like customers. Isla reassures him by showing him a portion of pie for Abel. Besides, it's not that much. She suddenly falls silent. Letty immediately comes up behind her and asks if everything is okay. Natalia smiles sweetly next to her. Tori fell asleep right after eating. The girls remark on his cute, childish side. Sleep is his life. Tori hopes that at least his lifestyle will remain unchanged and serene. Tori stretches contentedly. He slept very well today. His mother is at the counter today, so he can take a walk. The trees in the yard are planted fairly evenly. They probably function as a natural wall for privacy. They look so thick and sturdy. Tori pauses thoughtfully near a tree, looking at it intently, and he realizes that this is the perfect place for a hammock. Tori can already imagine how good it is for him and his family under the light breeze and the shade of the trees. Tori knows how to make a hammock. He takes a box of tools. In a past life, he already made a hammock. In the storage room, in a drawer, he finds a rope. Tori remembers that his friend had a homemade hammock at home, and the young man was so impressed that he later made one himself. It takes very little, just a rope and a piece of fabric. Tori goes to his mom and asks if he can take an old curtain and rope from the storage room. Shara at the counter looks at him in surprise, allowing him, but not understanding why he needs all this. Tori happily replies that she wants to make a hammock. Shara doesn't understand what he means, because she's never heard of such a thing. Tori quickly leaves, because there is no time. Tori goes back outside and scans the area to find the perfect spot for the hammock. He stops. First he takes a rope, ties it with a rag, and wraps it around the tree. Then he passes the knot of the rope through the loop at the other end and pulls it tight. Then he makes another loop on this end of the rope. Then the young man threads the end of the curtain through the loop and tightens it, and the hammock is half ready. He does the same on the other side. Finally, the homemade hammock is complete. Tori raises her hands in triumph, looking at the result of her labor. The young man seems to have tied the ropes tightly so that the hammock should not fall apart. He carefully steps on the fabric with his knee, and he lies down in the hammock. The seemingly unstable hammock sways very smoothly. It feels as if the young man is floating in space, and the hammock embraces his back and supports him. And when he looks at the sky, the green of the trees and the endless blue sky envelop Tori. The young man closes his eyes contentedly. It's simply wonderful. If he had a hammock to take a nap in, it would be unrealistic, of course, but still very comfortable. Birds are chirping all around. Just perfect music. Suddenly, Tori hears a clanking sound. This makes him open his eyes. He sits up in his hammock and looks towards the tavern. It is Ulgath. Apparently he has just returned. The mercenary turns towards the young man. Tori sees that Ulgath does not leave and continues to look at him. I wonder what thoughts are hidden behind that iron helmet. Ulgath turns and walks towards the young man. The mercenary stops in front of the young man resting in the hammock. And Tori suddenly realizes that Ulgath is huge. He will be even taller than Abel. Tori, looking out of the hammock, asks the mercenary what happened. Ulgath looks at the young man and puts his hand on his shoulder. At first, Tori doesn't understand what's going on, but then explains that the hammock won't fall apart because the materials are strong, so Ulgath doesn't need to worry. But the mercenary then points to himself. and Tori realizes that Olgat also wants to try lying in the hammock. Olgat nods quickly, and Tori can't help but wonder if it hurts to nod so quickly with the helmet on. Tori notes that Olgat's armor will be too heavy for the hammock, and the mercenary immediately becomes upset. Tori immediately offers to remove the armor, but Olgat resolutely refuses. Tori thinks, the weight of any armor can easily break the tree. Olgath hangs his head in disappointment, but Tori offers a solution. Olgath probably takes off his armor in his room so the hammock could be made there. There are hooks in each room, and they should be able to support the weight of a person. Olgat is very happy. A blush of happiness appears on his helmet. Tori smiles. Then it's decided. There's nothing to be done. Tori sees how interested Olgath is in the hammock, even in armor. The young man gets off the hammock and says that he'll go get what he needs. And the mercenary can go back to his room for now. Olgat agrees. And Tori heads towards the tavern, and Tori warns Olgat not to dare jump on the hammock, otherwise the trees might break. Tori looks at the mercenary seriously. Olgat assures that he understands and will return to the room now. After some time, having taken everything he needed, Tori knocks on the door of Olgat's room. The young man hears a loud knock getting closer. The mercenary opens the door and lets the young man inside. Olgat's room is very clean and bright. There's nothing superfluous in it. And Tori understands that he has never been in this room with Olgat. It's a fairly simple room, but here and there are various things belonging to the mercenary, such as a sword, and also some nice decorations and flowers that weren't there before Olgat appeared. The mercenary keeps flickering behind the boy, burning with impatience, and Tori stops looking too much. The boy thinks about where he can put the hammock. He notices hooks above the dresser, and suggests using these hooks and a curtain rod. Tori remarks that the dresser will be in their way, to which Olgat quickly moves it away. Tori places the rope and cloth on the floor and gets to work. After a while, the second homemade hammock is ready. The young man demonstrates Olgat's work. The young man lies down on the hammock to check how strong it is. But just in case, Tori asks not to jump on it or put heavy things on it. Olgat is very pleased. He looks at the hammock with interest. Tori seems to be watching a child playing with his new toy. Tori says goodbye, knowing that Olgath won't take off his armor in front of him anyway. A little sweat, a little sleep. It's a great way to spend the day. But Olgat stops him and hands the young man a full bag. The sanctions turn out to be silver and gold coins. Tori is shocked. This is the payment. And the mercenary offers to take everything from him. Tori appreciates it, but he just can't accept it. Olgat turns away abruptly. He writes something on a piece of paper and hands it to Tori. Knowledge is power. What Tori taught him was incredibly useful. Now the mercenary can easily sleep on the streets, and it's worth it. The boy's eyes widen. He understands that there is no such thing as a hammock here. To the people here, it would be as if the boy had invented something new, making it even more valuable. That is why Olgath wants to pay for it. Perhaps this knowledge is more valuable to him than gold. Only the boy is an ordinary guy. He is not an inventor, and in his opinion, he does not deserve it. Tori again refuses payment. The boy says they'll settle for 3 coins for materials and labor, although even that's too much, in Tori's opinion. The boy thanks Olgat. If he charges too much, he'll feel guilty, and that will ruin his sleep. But the mercenary stubbornly pulls the bag of money towards the young man, and Tori offers an alternative. As payment, Olgat will simply help him put hammocks in each room. Olgat agrees, and Tori leaves the room, hearing the mercenary immediately begin to remove his armor. Tori became very curious, but Tori reminds himself that the privacy of the guests is paramount. Besides, the young man prefers to get Olgat's consent for something like this. Tori wants to go back to the yard and take a nap on the hammock. However, his plans are ruined. The young man sees Natalia on the hammock. She admires him and says that it is very beautiful to lie here. Tori says that he made it and it was meant for him. Natalia reminds him that the boy made it outside in the yard, which means that guests can use it too. The girl wants to have some fun, and then return Tori's hammock. Natalia stretches her arms forward and hugs the young man around the neck, offering to sleep together so they can both enjoy it. Tori is very embarrassed and stops the girl because the hammock may not hold up. The gallant figure of a sedan boy, entangled in his hammock and unable to rest properly, has returned to bed. Lying on his stomach, the young man makes himself comfortable, noting that this feels like heaven. But paradise quickly ends when his father shouts at him that he is going to get groceries, and the boy goes with him. Tori goes downstairs, thinking that this is still better than cleaning. They have a lot of shopping to do today. Tori wonders if cleaning would be a better idea for him right now. Isla calls out to them. She asks to go with them, because she was also asked to buy something. Letty appears next to the girl who wants to go shopping. But her mother immediately refuses. She reminds Letty about the laundry in the reception area. There is a lot of laundry, and Shara needs help with it. Letty notes with disappointment that they just washed it. Shara strokes Letty's head. Tori mentally wishes Letty luck, because they finished the guest laundry, but not the family laundry. Abel promises to buy Letty her favorite fruit, so the girl does not have to be sad. Tori turns to her father, stunned. The girl smiles happily and thanks her father. Letty says she wants to eat fruit with her mom. Tori asks Abel to get rid of this new expression before they get to the market. Now that Letty's mood was better, they set off. Their destination was Rubella's market. Looking out of the window at the street was one thing, but the imprecision of a thing had to be experienced firsthand, like the feeling of walking on a stone sidewalk, or the hustle and bustle of downtown Rubella. The sounds of trade, the shouts of shopkeepers, the voices of men and women of all ages. The bustling main street is filled with human sounds. You can find everything here, from clothes and shoes to vegetables, and even blacksmith shops and weapon shops. Tori notes that the weapon shops are similar to those in fantasy. Isla calls out to the boy. The girl takes his hand. They should go to the market, not to Granule Street. Tori admits that flying in the clouds. The market is on a road that branches off from the main street. Compared to the shops here, everything is properly built there. Rubella is a relatively small town, but it is surrounded by many villages and towns of different sizes. The villagers come here to sell vegetables, so it is easy to get fresh produce. Finally, the children catch up with Abel near the vegetable shop. Isla notes that they are selling a lot of stuff today. Abel nods. He is a regular here, but some of this he has never seen before. Well, compared to Earth, the flora and fauna of this newspaper world are more diverse. Not to mention the monsters. You can eat something unique every day. Literally. It's quite an exciting prospect. Tori asks what's for lunch. Abel tells her about a soup that would use cream, turnips, and mushrooms. And they shouldn't forget about meat. Abel wonders what kind of meat would go best in this soup. Tori asks about Isla's errand. She needs to eat some spices and fruit. It won't take long, so she'll follow them. They plan to stop at the butcher first. Together they go to the meat shop. There they see a bald man in an apron. It is Carnes. Abel asks him for a recommendation. Carnes offers everything without hesitation, because he always offers the best. The man offers them monster meat, black buffalo and egg fawn. Abel examines the goods with interest. Tori mentally notes that the pieces of meat are enormous. Isla notes that it looks delicious. Black buffalo are monsters of cattle. Compared to a regular cow, their muscles are stronger and more elastic. Their meat is juicy and, despite its relative high cost, is popular among monster meat. But not much is known about Tori's egg fans. They are probably pig-like monsters. The boy has never tried them before. Abel tries to decide between two types of meat. Tori sees that his father is having a hard time making a choice. Tori suggests taking egg fan meat. He has never tried it. Tori mentally recalls that in his past life he tried boar meat, but it is not the same. Isla winks and points out that their inn serves mostly black buffalo. That gives them even more reason to try the egg fan. Tori is excited to try it. The man asks Carlo to prepare the order. Carlo, a blonde, freckled young man, greets Tori and Isla. They share with him that they are both here for work. Carlo notes that they work tirelessly. So does Carlo. Carlo is Mr. Carnes' son and is about the same age as Tori and Isla. They are friends. Tori's family is a regular at Mr. Carnes' butcher shop, so she and Carlo naturally get along due to their close age. Carlo asks if he wants a stew or a steak. Carlo closes his eyes in satisfaction. Egg fan meat is something else. It goes well with both steak and stew. Tori and Isla immediately clutch their stomachs, admitting that the boy's words made them hungry. Carlo laughs, saying that they can rely on him, and the meat is really tasty. Unfortunately, their conversation is interrupted by Abel. It is time for them to go. Carlo apologizes. They have business to attend to now, so Carlo promises to talk another time. Tori waves her hand, saying that this is what she should apologize for, if she takes up a knife. The young man expertly cuts up meat while Tori watches him. Looking at Carlo's focused expression, in contrast to how casual he is in the morning, Tori is actually mesmerized by the boy's work. Tori asks Isla if she has noticed that Carlo is different when he cuts meat, and Isla agrees. This reminded Tori of his kohai, who had the same eyes as their Carlo. He looked like he was dead when he was working, but sometimes he would ask Tori about something, and his eyes would shine with interest and life. Just like Carlo's eyes would shine when he was working, Tori scratches his head, noting that he has a weakness for people with eyes like that. Too enticing. It makes everything around him sparkle. Isla suggests that Tori learn from Carlo, but the young man stubbornly replies that his motto is to work lazily. Isla is indignant because of his stubbornness. Their next stop is the greengrocer. It always has the freshest vegetables and the best selection. Abel thinks about it and asks Tori and Isla a question. Abel holds 2 heads of cabbage in his hands and asks which of the carrols is the freshest. Carrol is a vegetable similar to cabbage. The main difference is the purple color and softness. They are a unique species in this world. Tori asks to see the cabbages from below. Abel shows. The children unanimously claim that the cabbage on the left is fresher. Suddenly, a voice confirms this. It's a dark-haired boy with glasses on his face and his hands on his hips. He's the greengrocer's son, Hart. He notes with a wise look that the whiter the cabbage stem, the sweeter it is, so he advises to always check the stem before buying. Moreover, when you open the leaves and black spots appear on them, it means they are not so fresh. Hart mentions that if they touch the carrol stem too much, they can ruin it. Hart is about the same age as Tori and Carlo, and he really likes vegetables. Abel narrows his eyes and says he wanted to teach the boys himself. Hart quickly apologizes. Abel is like Hart in this sense. He wants to test Tori's knowledge and critical thinking by asking questions from time to time. So it's like the market is more like learning than just helping carry groceries. Abel points to one of the vegetables. Tori clarifies that he needs to determine if the turnip is fresh. Hart, his eyes shining, chimes in. If the surface of the turnip is smooth and slippery, and there are no burrs, it is a good turnip. Also, turnips with smaller leaves are softer and tastier. Abel praises Hart, but it was a question for Tori and Isla. Hart apologizes again. The dark-haired boy admits that when he hears questions about vegetables, he reflexively answers them. Tori mentally sympathizes with him. Abel reassures him that considering the way his parents raised him, it's not surprising. Hart confirms with a bright smile that his life has been all about vegetables since he was born. Tori can't blame the boy, since that's how he was raised. However, his family must be pretty eccentric. Abel asks the next question and asks Hart to be quiet. The young man immediately looks dejected, because he really likes questions about vegetables. Abel points to a stall with mushrooms that look and price exactly the same and asks what the difference is between them. Tori insists that they are the same, and Isla suggests that they are different species. Tori and Isla continue to look for differences. Abel holds Hart by the shoulders and explains that there are many types of mushrooms, and this question is more complicated than the previous ones. Abel covers the boy's mouth with both hands when he realizes that he can't stop himself and wants to shout out the answer. Tori, examining the mushroom, mentally notes that this is probably obvious to Hart, but the boy has no choice but to continue looking until he can find some difference. It is not the shape or the stem Tori does not understand. Then Isla asks the boy a question. Aren't the mushrooms on the left more gray? Tori shows that there are grays on the other side, and there are whites too, so their difference is not in color. Hart is at his wit's end and can't hold back any longer. He removes Abel's hand from his mouth and yells at the boys to be more careful. They are being too rough with the mushrooms. Abel abruptly covers the boy's face with his hand to keep him quiet. Tori asks his father to be gentle with Hart. Tori and Isla pick up the mushrooms, examining them carefully. Both mushrooms are smooth to the touch. There is no difference between the cap and the stem. Tori is stumped. Isla has no clue either. Abel sighs that there is no choice. However, Hart speaks up. The young man shouts that you need to look under the mushroom cap. If the gills are slightly curved, then it is a porcini mushroom. If they go straight, these are mushrooms approx. The boys peer under the mushroom cap, barely noticing the difference. They are very difficult to tell apart. Abel confirms that mushrooms are often difficult to tell apart. Isla nods, noting that even though she knows the right answer now, she might still accidentally pick the wrong one. Tori worries that they might pick poisonous mushrooms. Hart exclaims that as long as he is here, they will never accidentally sell poisonous mushrooms. Their shop is the best when it comes to fresh vegetables and mushrooms. Abel asks Hart to listen when he is told something. Hart, beaming, asks for forgiveness, but will not change his attitude. Hart has a very kind heart. His love for vegetables is boundless. Tori's love for sleep is also noted. Despite being slightly annoyed, Abel still ruffles Hart's hair, causing him to smile happily. Tori, continuing the theme of sleep, says that it's not love, but an attitude. Isla notes that this worries her. They finally finish shopping. Putting on her backpack, Tori notes that they bought quite a lot today. Tori turns around to see his father talking to Hart and his father. Hart is promoting tomatoes. They are delicious when fried. It brings out their sweetness. The dark-haired boy recommends making a casserole with tomatoes, cheese, and vegetables. Abel wants to try it tonight. Tori thinks tomato casserole sounds good. A hand touches Tori's shoulder. Isla asks if Tori wants to go with her to buy spices and fruit. The boy agrees, since his father is in no hurry anyway. They warn Abel and leave. The children are going to buy sugar and some fruit, so their walk will not last long. They arrive at a spice shop. The shopkeeper, a young man, asks if Isla is on a mission. The girl asks for sugar. It costs 3 silver coins for the amount she needs. Isla checks the bag of goods. The spices in this world are quite expensive. However, not so much that commoners cannot afford them. It's just that if you buy them directly from a merchant who specializes in them, you can get impure spices. But there shouldn't be any problems in this market. Although an extra check wouldn't hurt. Isla takes her assignments very seriously. After checking, the girl says that everything is fine. The seller and Isla thank each other. Next, they go for fruit. This is the next stall. Tori turns her head and spots a magic tool shop. Magic tools are imbued with the power of wizards, making them capable of performing magic. As the name suggests, magic item shops like this one sell tools to anyone who wants them. These special tools are powered by magical stones extracted from monsters. They are very useful for things like extracting water or starting fires and other magical things. Tori looks over the goods, noticing a tool for setting up defensive magic. This tool costs 125 gold coins. The cheapest ones sell for 50 common coins, which is beyond his means, and he doesn't need them since he doesn't fight. However, there are still magical tools he would like to get his hands on. For example, those that can give out hot or cold air. Yes, he is talking about an air conditioner. If he had one, the young man could sleep in bliss, regardless of the season. And Tori just notices a tool that blows out warm air. It costs 60 gold coins. And a tool that blows out cold air costs 70 gold coins. And they also use large magic stones. Isla notices his interest. Tori admits that he has noticed these two instruments. Isla exclaims that they would never be able to buy such a thing in their entire lives. Only nobles and rich merchants can afford such a thing. Tori agrees. Clenching his hand into a fist, Tori mutters in disappointment that if he had them, he could sleep much better. For example, in the summer, when it's hot and the room is cool. Isla skeptically clarifies that he needs such expensive items for this. The girl points out that he doesn't need them to sleep. Tori realizes that the people of this world don't see the need for something like that. He wants to have such tools so that they can make his life more relaxing. Isn't it good for a man to pursue his dream? Isla asks about his dream. And Tori admits that his dream is to buy these instruments when he has enough money. But for now, he will just relax and save up little by little. Although this method will take a very long time, he needs to think about a faster way to earn money. Isla says his first step to achieving his dream is to go to the fruit stand. Tori doesn't understand why he would go there. What is the connection between fulfilling a dream and buying fruit? Isla reminds Letty about the fruit because their father completely forgot about it because he was so engrossed in the conversation. Tori must not forget the promises he made. After this, Isla bids him farewell and asks him not to forget what she told him. Tori thanks her as she says goodbye. Abel comments that Isla is cute. Tori hesitantly agrees, and Abel asks how he feels. Tori frowns in confusion. Abel is indignant, calling him slow-witted, and asks if he likes Isla. Tori thinks about it. Isla is nice, but inside, the boy is still an old man, so he doesn't even think about such things with her. Abel points out that Tori is 12 years old, just about time to get a girlfriend or two. When his father was young, he used to ask out a lot of girls. Tori immediately asks if their mother knows about this. Abel is slightly embarrassed, while Tori calmly runs away. His father assures him that this is a purely man-to-man conversation and that he shouldn't tell his mother about it. Tori repeats about a girl, or maybe two. Abel tries to catch up with his son. They return to the tavern, where Letty greets them with a smile. Abel hands the girl the promised fruit. She thanks them, and the men go to make dinner. Today, all the ingredients are very fresh. Abel asks Tori to chop the vegetables and mushrooms. He also asks if Tori would like to watch him cut up the egg fan. The young man is slightly disappointed, because he was not allowed to prepare the meat. They are busy cooking. And finally, the stew is ready. Tori notes that it smells stronger than usual. Is it because of the egg fan meat? It tastes different from regular chicken. The guests will certainly not remain indifferent. This smell is very distracting for Tori from her work. Suddenly, someone shouts that they smell egg fan. Michal shouts that there is no doubt it is definitely egg fan. Helmina, Seek, and Ralph appear next to him, also noting the wonderful aroma of the stew. Tori greets them, and they smile and say that they are back. Helmina admits that she likes the stew made by Mr. Abel, but Ralph points out that Tori makes it these days. The young man nods, noting that his father only does the cutting. They watch with interest as Abel cuts. They are surprised by the size of the meat, and Mikhail emphasizes that he guessed the meat. Abel asks Tori to hurry, because soon there will be many people here. When the wind comes, many guests return to the inn. It becomes very cheerful, noisy, and busy when everyone is drinking and eating. With so many guests, the stew will quickly run out. It needs to be made bigger. Abel shouts that he is busy preparing meat dishes, so the young man will have to take care of turnip and mushroom soups. Tori has to stir 2 pots of soup at the same time. Before the boy realized it, the sky had already turned red. This is a sign that the guests are returning from work. You can't see much from here, but judging by the bustle of Letty and his mother, there are a lot of people. People are constantly coming in and asking for tables. Letty and Shira are constantly busy, either delivering food or taking orders. Letty asks about the cooking time. Abel says that almost everything is ready, but the egg fan steaks will have to wait a little longer. Letty comes back and shouts that they can take orders. As for the egg fan steaks, there will be a little wait. There are not many of them, so they need to be ordered quickly. Everyone exclaims, "Happy to have a feast." Abel notes that the brats are already completely wasted. Tori notes that they have nothing better to do while they wait. Abel is worried about Letty. Tori is worried about her sister too. She's only 10 years old, and when the girl is around drunk old men, he just feels uneasy. But Ricotta should be here soon, then Tori will switch with Letty. A girl with loose hair, short pants, and a sleeveless shirt runs into the tavern. This is Ricotta, a theater student. She has blonde hair and bangs. She is late because of theater practice. Abel says that everything is fine, let her go and change, and then Letty will come to work in the kitchen. Putting on an apron and dress, the girl declares that she has changed. Abel notes that she is as nimble as usual. Ricotta winks with a smile, because in the theater it is simply necessary to be able to change clothes quickly. The girl aspires to become an actress in the theater. She has daily theater practice, and after finishing it, she comes to the tavern of Tori and Letty's parents to work as a maid. Her shift is in the evening, the busiest time. Abel sends them to serve the guests and reminds Tori to switch with Letty. Tori would rather stay in the kitchen, since all he has to do is make soup. The boy calls out to Letty, who is taking orders at one of the tables. The guys change, and Letty warns that table number 2 at the end of the room is waiting for an order, and the young man needs to go there. Ricotta divides their duties, and the boys go their separate ways. The boy comes to the table to ask for an order, and the man asks where Letty is. The girl is in the kitchen, and the man with the scar on his face says that they would be better served by a nice girl. But Tori points out that since Letty is in the kitchen, they will eat the soup she made. The men agree, because it will taste even better that way. The bald man with the scar immediately orders soup from Letty. Tori says that there is no such soup. They can choose between turnip soup, mushroom soup, and creamy stew with egg fan. Ricotta asks for 4 more ales. Tori notes the girl's strong voice. Apparently, it is like that from practice in the theater. Suddenly, loud swearing is heard. Some men are arguing because one man ate almost half of another man's steak. Tori wonders if they're really going to fight over something like that. Letty asks Tori to take her order to the table where the men are arguing. Tori doesn't really want to go there. But Letty reminds him that these are his tables. Shara also asks him to take 2 ales there. One man grabs the other by the collar, not understanding why he's picking on him. Tori interrupts them with a smile and hands them their order, 2 egg fan steaks and 2 ales. They freeze in shock, looking at the boy. Tori tells them to eat while it's hot. The guests calm down and start eating. Ralph notes that Tori is very brave to get involved in a fight between men. The boy says that he is used to it. That is why he does not want Letty to wait tables at night. Natalia is coming down the stairs. All men immediately pay attention to her. She changes like this every night. This is Natalia's work routine. She always leaves for work at this time. Men shout compliments after her. At night, there is a completely different atmosphere around her. One of the guys shouts if he can have her for the night tonight. With a seductive smile, Natalia replies that the gentleman can visit their establishment, and for a certain fee, she could become his. Even Tori is uneasy about the atmosphere. The man complains that he is too poor for this. They say that there is such a long queue to see Natalia that you need to make an appointment 6 months in advance. Suddenly, Natalia approaches Tori. She kisses Tori on the cheek, causing all the men to stare in shock at the scene. Natalia tells the young man that she went to work, and Tori asks her to take care of herself. Tori is extremely embarrassed, and all the other men look after Natalia in amazement. Out of envy, men begin to overwhelm Tori with work. Finally, the hard evening is over. The hard part is over. Now it's time to clean up. Ricotta is still alive, while Tori is completely squeezed out. Together, they tidy up the cafeteria, wipe down tables, clear away dirty dishes. After a while, Abel lets Tori go. Letty is already asleep, so Tori is looking forward to her sleep too. They'll be selling takeout tomorrow, so Tori will need to get up early. Tori warns Shara and Ricotta that he is going to bed. They remind him that he needs to get up early tomorrow and say goodnight. He sees his bed and falls face down into the pillow, sighing contentedly. Today, Tori worked himself to the point of exhaustion. He woke up at 5 a.m., the guests left at 8 a.m. Then they cleaned the building and the rooms, including the laundry and reception area, before the afternoon nap. They prepared the essentials for serving the guests, went to the market to buy ingredients for dinner, and served everyone before bed. So he worked for 10 hours or so today. But the boy had an afternoon nap, and shopping at the market does not count as work, not to mention that he took several naps during the day. In addition, he spent a lot of time daydreaming while working, since the guests were just talking to each other. This is completely different from his previous life, where the boy had to spend the whole day at a table, and idleness was forbidden. Although getting up early is still terrible. But no matter how you look at it, such a life is much better. And sleepiness is so wonderful. Tomorrow, Tori will also work moderately and calmly. The young man falls asleep, wrapped in a blanket. Abel wakes up Tori. The frightened boy calls for his mother, and his father asks if he really looks like a ghost. It's still too early, but Abel reminds us that he said yesterday that they would be doing takeaway today. Tori wakes up completely broken, with bruises under his eyes and his hair disheveled. His father woke him up, and Tori naively thinks that he can sleep some more. But his father forbids him to even think about it. Abel wants Tori to sell takeout at the transit point later, and Abel gives him the chance to figure out what to cook. Tori can use anything as long as it costs less than 3 copper coins in total. It makes sense, since they don't usually sell takeout for more than that. So Tori has to keep costs low for the sake of profit. He thinks about it. Tori remembers that Ralph liked the patty sandwich. First, the young man chops the onion finely, then fries it until it is browned. Tori decides to use the remaining meat of the egg fan. He chops it finely. Abel notices that Tori is making the sandwich he made before. The young man cut the meat finely. Add pepper, salt, and mix. As soon as it becomes more dense, add onion, eggs, and mix again. This part is very important. If the meat is not kneaded well, air bubbles will appear inside, which will cause the cutlet to fall apart. Add a few finishing touches, making sure the patty isn't too thick before making a small indentation in the center. Then fry in a pan. Once brown on one side, flip and let brown on the other side. Then turn down the heat and cover the pan with a lid. Meanwhile, the young man shreds the cabbage. Finally, put the shredded cabbage and cutlet on the bread. Finally, the burger, made with all his heart, is ready. Tori wipes the sweat from his forehead. Abel immediately volunteers to try it and says it's very tasty, such a rich flavor with bread. Wouldn't it taste better if you let it sit for a while, so the bread can absorb the juices and flavors of the meat? Tori notes that it's delicious cold, but the longer you let it sit, the better. Abel praises his son, noting that it is the perfect takeout dish. A young man walks down the street towards his destination. There are many carts today, which means there will be more customers. There is an entire area in the south of Rubella that serves as a staging area for horse-drawn carriages. For a fee, you can deliver or travel to neighboring villages or towns. Tori has come here to sell takeaway food, which is convenient for eating on the road. Isla also came here. Tori says that his father asked him to get up early and cook. The girl wonders what is inside his box. Tori says that there is a sandwich inside. This is the first time Isla hears about this. Tori is surprised and asks if he didn't make it for her. Isla says she rarely eats his food, and Tori realizes he mixed it up and made sandwiches for his mom and Letty. Isla will be selling black buffalo sandwiches, which are made from the unused cuts. Tori suggests swapping and trying each other's. They switch and Isla asks what his sandwich is. It is prepared from finely chopped meat, which is mashed, formed into a ball, and fried. Isla looks at the sandwich she received with a slightly tense expression, because it's something strange. Can this be considered food? Tori notes that it's rude. Besides, his father approved of this dish. Isla decides to trust Mr. Abel. She opens the lid, and he sees a completely normal and pleasantly smelling sandwich. She takes a small bite. Isla notes in surprise that it is very tender and delicious. The way the bread and cabbage soaked up the juices from the meat was delicious. Tori was glad she liked it. Now it was his turn to try. Some adventurer is interested in Tori's dish and asks what it is. The young man senses a customer, but the girl in the hat interrupts him, noting that it is very easy to make a sandwich. Another adventurer next to her agrees, because you can just buy bread and any filling you want and make it yourself while they are driving. It will be cheaper. The adventurer, who became interested in the sandwich, agrees that he used to buy sandwiches with fillings that he didn't like at all. But Tori isn't giving up. He says it's a signature dish. The taste will change the way people think about sandwiches. One bite, and they'll be begging for more. The girl notes that the young man is very self-confident. They want to check if he can back up his words. They ask about the price. The Tories hand over the money. The first sandwich is sold. The adventurer admits that he is a big fan of sandwiches. Whenever he enters or leaves a city, he always buys a sandwich. Tori asks if they are leaving. The adventurer answers honestly that they had planned to do so. If anyone ever wants to try this sandwich again, they can visit the Tori family tavern. They will be happy to have guests. The adventurer thanks him and asks for the name. After a while, Tori and Isla sold all the sandwiches. Now they can go home. It's hard to sell food that no one has heard of. It's hard to get them to try a sandwich. Isla says with a smile that she really enjoyed the dish, and she is sure that others will enjoy it too. The girl says goodbye to the young man, because she still needs to help with the tavern. Well, maybe everything won't go so smoothly. But the young man will be glad if they still come for more. Suddenly, the very first customer, the adventurer, bursts into the tavern. The sandwich was so delicious that they decided to go back halfway to find Tori. All three adventurers surround Tori, saying that the taste was just fantastic and that you have to be a professional chef to make something like that. It was the best sandwich they had ever tasted. Even the adventurers' friends, who were hesitant about buying it, are delighted with the sandwich. Abel praises his son for his good work. Tori's dad smiles and says that they now have sandwiches on the menu. Tori is glad they came, but that means he has more work to do, which he doesn't like at all. Tori is tired of making sandwiches, but his dad refuses to listen to his excuses. Ralph comes running at the word sandwich. A young girl with short hair looks sadly at an empty bag. There is a boy standing in the middle of the room. He is wearing a headscarf and a waiter's uniform. The young man takes a tray. The boy approaches the table with a tray, noting that things are not going well there. The young men sitting there confirm this, saying that soon they will not have the money to pay for their stay. They must be financially devastated, because they are struggling to even pay for a room. The young man in the headscarf remembers that they charge very little. A girl with short hair and bangs notes that this financial insolvency is due to the fact that young men cannot control their expenses. After all expenses consist of certain little things. The young man has to spend money on the maintenance of his weapons, equipment, and other things, such as medicine, bandages, potions, and field rations. The girl with bangs, putting her hands under her chin, frowns, because young men buy things without thinking, and in doing so, they waste their budget. The girl continues to be indignant. She tells how she once asked Ralph to buy cheap meat, and he bought expensive monster meat instead. The blonde youth, with his hair up in his hair, exclaims indignantly. Ralph begins to explain that the monster was the king of frogs. This meat is very rare, super mega rare, so of course he couldn't help but buy it. The girl with bangs immediately jumps up from her chair indignantly and, leaning her hands on the table, begins to scold the young man, because such things should only be bought when you have money. The young man waves his hand, saying that it was only once. The boy in the headscarf notes that the situation has escalated. The black-haired boy explains, while the screams of the girl with bangs and the blonde boy can be heard in the background, that this incident happened 3 days ago, and it made the girl very angry. Suddenly, the dark-haired boy also gets complaints. Sick always buys arrows again and again. The girl with bangs shouts that he buys magic arrows and he doesn't need to hide it. Sick starts making excuses that this is necessary in case monsters attack them. Helmina, the girl with bangs, asks why the boy doesn't take them with him. The boy in the headscarf sighs to himself. The fair-haired boy notices that they are not the only ones spending money. The girl is also buying magic stones. Sick immediately agrees, and the boy in the headscarf exclaims in surprise. Around Helmina. She folds her arms over her chest and with a calm look clarifies what the boys are hinting at. Sick and Ralph freeze, feeling the tension. Helmina continues to frown. The boys gently remind her that the girl always stands behind in battles and uses magic, and she uses 4 spells in a battle at most. So why does Helmina burn her magic stones so quickly? The girl awkwardly retreats, not knowing how to explain. The boys cast a tense look at her. Sometimes, magicians use the energy of magic stones to cast spells, thus reducing the consumption of their own magic powers. But here, it is very strange that Helmina uses up her stones so often, although she does not use magic much in battles. The boys immediately point at the girl, claiming that they know she used them for light magic at night. The girl's eyes widen, and she involuntarily retreats. The boys begin to scold her, calling her a hypocrite, because they saved money on candles, while Helmina used magic stones to read her books at night. Tori realizes that everyone is to blame for their problem. Helmina turns away awkwardly and admits that she was doing magical research. Sick gasps, and Ralph looks at him in surprise. Sick opens the book he brought with him. In addition to the text, the book also contains illustrations, one of which he is now showing. The picture shows a girl and a boy. The boy is pressing the girl against the wall. Their faces are very close. Sick asks with a grin if all the magicians are now conducting their research on obscene books. The girl exclaims embarrassedly, her cheeks are covered with a deep blush. Sick in confusion and asks where he got the book from. She, indignantly red, asks if the young man really got into her room. The black-haired young man moves away from Helmina and explains that he did nothing of the sort. The girl simply left the book in their shared room. The boy in the headscarf continues to watch all this. He wonders in his mind that Helmina couldn't be so careless. So he hopes that the book wasn't left in a place where Letty, the little blonde girl with the cute ponytail, could find it. The boy in the kerchief puts his hand to his chin. He wonders if she and his mother already know what's going on, since they clean the rooms on this floor. Meanwhile, the 3 continue to argue among themselves. Helmina justifies herself by saying that she doesn't buy impulsively like some people. Ralph is indignant, saying that the girl is no better than them. Suddenly, they turn to Tori, the boy in the kerchief, and ask him to judge them. Tori points out that they are all to blame, causing all three of them to fall into awkward silence and stare at the girl with their mouths open. The three of them quietly sit back down in their seats. Tori feels awkward, because he didn't think they would be so depressed because of his words. Tori continues that if they found an overspending item, why don't they take the opportunity to be open and consult with each other before they make any purchases? Tori reminds them that they split the money between them, so if they talk it over, everyone can afford to buy what they want. The three of them look at Tori in awe. There is a nice atmosphere, and everything seems to be shining, with soap bubbles flying everywhere. After hearing Tori's words, Helmina lowers her head and admits that she was wrong. She should have talked to everyone before buying magic stones and books. Sik also agrees that he was wrong. From now on, he will save and reuse his arrows, and will not buy magic arrows unless necessary. Rolf also smiles awkwardly and promises that he will buy what Helmina asks for, nothing more. Tori smiles and thinks that the guys will be able to continue to get along as if the fight never happened. As a group, they must talk and have good relationships with each other. Helmina smiles and exclaims that she can't imagine eating stale food every day. Ralph jumps in and says that since they don't have any money, they should take on a monster-killing mission. Sik smiles and agrees that they can't stay like this. Tori notices that the problem is solved, so he decides to leave quietly so as not to disturb the team. A boy in a headscarf walks to the door and sees two people rush in. They are a little blonde girl, Letty, and a girl with her bangs pulled back. Shivering and holding wicker baskets of laundry, they complain about the rain. A girl with bangs notes that the weather means there won't be any laundry today. Tori and Letty share how surprised they are by the sudden rain. Helmina approaches them with a question. While drying Letty's hair, Tori sympathizes that it will be hard for them to walk because of the rain. Helmina firmly declares that they are not working today. She talks it over with the team, arguing that they might get sick. The boys are supportive, noting with some disappointment that they have to start tomorrow. Tori turns to them, still drying Letty's hair with a towel. She notes that adventurers do have flexible work hours. Tori hopes that tomorrow the team will be motivated to work. The man asks Tori to cut the cabbage. The boy nods. Suddenly they hear someone's voice, someone apologizing for the intrusion. The cook asks if Tori heard it and if the voice could belong to Yuna. They go to check it out together. A man and a boy in a headscarf see two girls who look very similar to each other. The girls are wearing almost identical dresses, only their hairstyles are different. One of the girls has her hair down, just below her shoulders. The other has her hair in a ponytail on the side. They greet Tori and Mr. Abel with a smile. Tori also greets the girls. These girls are sisters. Alina, the girl with loose hair, is the same age as Tori and is the more affectionate of the two. Yuna, on the other hand, is the loud and overly energetic younger sister. Yuna is the same age as Letty. That is, the girls are 12 and 10 years old. Why did they come here? Mr. Abel asks, did they come because they brought vegetables? Yuna nods, pointing at the cart her father is pulling. Abel checks to see if all the vegetables are fresh. Kars, Yuna and Alina's father, nods with a smile, noting that the entire cart of vegetables is fresh. Mr. Carson and his family live in a village outside of Rubella. They live off their own crops, sell some, and bring them here. Lena looks at Tori with concern and notices that he doesn't look very well, so she asks if the boy is sleeping well. Tori puts his hand to his face, asking if he really looks that sleepy. The boy tells Alina that he slept well and everything is fine. With a bright smile, Alina says that everything is fine. Tori thinks that is very sweet. He remembers his mother slapping him to wake him up. Tori asks how their family got through the journey, if they were tired. Alina answers with a smile that they are already used to it. They were a little cold, because they left when it was still dark outside. Tori wonders to himself, did they really get up that early? The boy asks how long it took them to get there. Alina thinks about it. Alina counts on her fingers. Since they left before dawn, it's about 2 hours on foot. Alina asks Yuna if she counted correctly. Yuna agrees with a smile, noting that the way back will be easy since the cart is empty. Tori is very surprised, not understanding how these children can say this so easily. Smiling brightly, Yuna invites Tori to come visit them. Tori mentally notes that he is not physically ready for such a trip. Noticing Tori's hesitation, Yuna immediately frowns, and the young man promises to think about her proposal when he has time. The girl approaches him and reminds him that the boy is always busy. When will he be able to think? Tori evasively promises that soon. Elena takes Yuna by the shoulders, saying that the young man is busy and the girl cannot force him to come. Tori mentally thanks Elena. The boy changes the subject and says that today they brought a lot of vegetables. All the vegetables look very good. Cabbage, lettuce, asparagus, celery, burdock, tomatoes, peas. Yuna nods with a smile. These vegetables are fresh, and the girl notes that today they have something special. Smiling happily, Yuna opens a small box, revealing small tomatoes lying inside. Tori's eyes widen in surprise as he notices that these tomatoes don't look like the ones at the market. Yuna winks and explains that these are Purici tomatoes. You won't find them at the rubella market because their skin is very thin and easily damaged, but when fried, they are much sweeter than regular tomatoes. Elena adds that this variety is very common in their village. Tori agrees. After all, people go to the market to buy quality produce, and they don't want damaged tomatoes. So today they've been given vegetables that aren't fit for sale at the local market. Tori carefully examines the tomato, noting that it does have a very thin skin. It seems Tori has yet to see all, if not most, of the food ingredients this world has to offer. Mr. Abel places his hand on Tori's shoulders as he examines the tomatoes and turns to Cars, asking why he didn't tell them about them. They will take these tomatoes. Cars points out that this is unreasonable, considering the volume of vegetables they buy. All of the tomatoes of this variety will be crushed on the way here. Cars continues that Elena brought these tomatoes here especially, and it is she who should be thanked for this. Elena looks up in embarrassment, while Yuna proudly puffs out her chest. Tori, holding these tomatoes, remembers that the family walked here for 2 hours, and transporting these vegetables obviously brought some problems. Elena came all this way just to give these tomatoes to us. Tori thanks the girl, complaining that it must have been very problematic to bring them here. Elena smiles brightly, noting that their family is always kind to them, so she will be very happy if they like their gift. Tori covers his face with his hand, as if Elena's smile will blind him like the sun. Tori wonders if his heart might not be able to take it. Abel asks if the family is going to the market now and if they have plans for dinner. Cars, without thinking twice, replies that they will most likely stay with them as usual. Wrapping his arm around Tori's shoulders, Abel promises to make something delicious from those tomatoes. Tori thinks, with resignation, that he didn't even agree, although he usually cooks dinner anyway, and this is a good chance to thank Car's family. The girls immediately exclaim happily. They immediately ask not to make tomatoes on skewers, because at home they only eat such. Abel, with a smile, promises that he will not use any skewers. Abel imagines himself tasting these sweet tomatoes on skewers. The boy's mouth waters at the thought of how sweet these skewers taste, grilled with butter. Sighing, he tells them to come back at noon. He and his father will think of something, and will wait impatiently for them. The girls thank him with a smile. They wave goodbye to them, and Abel promises that they will not be disappointed. Tori notes that his father is too self-confident, and Abel agrees with a smile. Tori realizes that his father probably already has an idea of what to cook. But his father denies it with a big smile. His father must make a decision quickly, otherwise they will return to us without any food prepared. Abel nods thoughtfully. Tori silently asks her father not to make empty promises. Abel ponders. Tomatoes are sweet when fried, but Yuna asked not to make them on skewers. Tori asks if, after all the bragging, his father can't come up with something. They have a little over an hour before people start trickling in for lunch. Tori doesn't think they have time to do anything with them. Abel asks if Tori has any ideas. Tori calmly replies that he doesn't even know what they taste like. Abel remembers this, so he gives the boy one small tomato to fry and taste. As Tori skewers a tomato, he notes that he doesn't have to exert any effort to pierce the vegetable. Tori holds the skewer to the stove, wondering if it's okay to roast a tomato with such a thin skin. The boy picks up the skewer. The tomato has been lightly roasted and softened. The thin skin has cracked slightly, revealing the juicy flesh. Tori notes with admiration that the roasting intensifies the aroma, reminiscent of tomato soup. Careful not to burn her tongue, Tori brings the skewer of fried tomato to her mouth. Chewing delightedly, Tori notes the strong tomato flavor that unfolds throughout his mouth. Still aware of the incredible taste, Tori admits that he has never tasted such a delicate tomato. Pressing his hand to his chin, Abel still wants to settle on something simple, so he decides to make a dish on skewers, believing that the simplest is the best. Tori reminds him that they can't go back on their word. He thinks, trying to think of a recipe that would be simple and involve baking. It dawns on Tori that they could make a casserole out of the tomatoes. His father enthusiastically agrees. Abel immediately takes out a frying pan, saying that a cheese casserole is what they need. They immediately begin cooking. The Carr's family returns. The girls note that there are a lot of people here. They thought that if they came earlier, there would be fewer people. Carr's notes that the place is as lively as always. Alina looks around and notices that all the customers are happy with their food. She is very curious about how Abel and Tori prepared the Perici tomatoes. They are looking for their friends. Tori is just clearing away the dishes when she hears their name being called. She and her father look at their guests. Tori greets them and leads the happy girls behind her. Alina watches Tori's back as they follow him. She notes that the boy is rather strange. After all, despite the fact that he is the same age as her, sometimes the boy looks very much like an adult. She wonders why she feels this way. Tori is very carefree and finds everything unpleasant, but he also has a sense of responsibility. He never misses an opportunity to do what he has to do. Alina can't understand if Tori really takes everything so seriously. Tori is very mysterious to the girl. The young man looks at the girl at this moment and calls out to her. Alina quickly reassures Tori that she was simply lost in her thoughts. Yuna is already seated at the table, her legs dangling impatiently as she waits for her meal. Yuna notes that it is quite lively now. Tori notes that it is always like this at this time of day. Alina smiles and notes that this shows everyone how good the food is. Yuna lies down on the table, enjoying the smells, and complains that she is hungry. Alina sheepishly admits that she is hungry too. The girls were up before the sun came up, then headed to the farm to gather and sort the harvest before walking to Rubella. They probably ate breakfast, but that was hours ago. It's no wonder the girls are hungry now. Tori reassures them that the food will be ready any minute. They shout from the kitchen that everything is ready. The girls immediately sit up straight with interest, waiting to hear what they have prepared. Alina smells the aroma and asks in surprise, "Is that really cheese and tomatoes?" Yuna also exclaims in surprise. Yuna shouts with a happy smile that it is a casserole. Tori nods that they have guessed correctly. He and Letty carry the finished dish to the girls. Tori warns the girls and Letty, who is admiring the dish in her hands, that the food is still hot and to be careful. The voice is heard again from behind. It was the voice of Mikhail, an aristocrat who had stopped here for some reason. He clarified in surprise that the dish in Tori's hands was a casserole made with Perici tomatoes. Tori looked around in surprise, not understanding how the aristocrat could even tell anything from there. Mikhail flies up to Tori and explains that no one sells these tomatoes here because they are so fragile, but they are serving them here today. Tori denies it and says that this dish was prepared for the Carr's family, and there was nothing left for Mikhail. Michael is extremely disappointed. The aristocrat falls to his knees, an aura of tragedy thickening around him. Tori calms the girls and tells them not to pay attention to him, because the aristocrat likes to exaggerate. Alina glances at Mikhail, trying to figure out if the aristocrat is one of the cities. Mikhail is very well read, after all, since he knows about Perici tomatoes. Perici tomato casserole in front of the girls with a smile. Steam is still rising from the casserole, showing that the dish was recently prepared. The tomatoes peek out neatly from the cheese-covered surface, tempting them with their appearance. Yuna's eyes immediately light up. She hasn't even tried the dish yet, but she's already exclaiming in delight how delicious it is. The casserole looks delicious. All the cheese is hot and melting, just waiting to be stretched. Alina admires the smell and sizzle of the tomatoes, as if the casserole is talking to her and asking her to try it. Yuna closes her eyes and exclaims that it will be delicious. Tori urges them to try the casserole. The girls look at each other and nod, preparing to try the dish. The fork gently enters the casserole. Alina looks at the casserole with admiration. Perici tomatoes, broccoli, carrots, and pasta, all mixed up and tangled with cheese. It looks and smells amazing. Alina finally takes some of the casserole and brings it to her mouth. Alina closes her eyes as the casserole ends up in her mouth. Yuna closes one eye because the casserole is too hot, but delicious. The girl notes with admiration how the tomato burst. The tomato juice filled the walls of her mouth with such intense sweetness and sourness. It goes incredibly well with the strong taste of cheese, because everyone knows the great combination of cheese and tomatoes. But the Parichi tomatoes take the cheese flavor to a new level. Tori asks cautiously how the casserole tastes. Elena admits with a satisfied smile that she has never tried such a fantastic casserole. Tori smiles sheepishly. He is very happy to hear this. Tori turns to Yuna, saying that if she eats so fast, she'll burn her mouth. Alina points out that Tori is showing his adult side now. However, Yuna doesn't listen to him, because this casserole is super delicious. Kars is also pleased with the taste. He notes that roasting the Parichi tomatoes with cheese made them sweeter, calling it the most mind-blowing combination. Kars compliments Tori on doing such a great job. Alina smiles and admits that she is very glad that she brought these tomatoes here. She thanks Tori for being able to make such a delicious dish using their vegetables. Tori looks away, embarrassed. He thinks that they should be grateful for such delicious and fresh vegetables, so let the Kars family not be shy and always drop by when they are in town. Alina nods with a smile, mentally noting that Tori is more emotional today than usual. Tori is asked to take the order, so he says goodbye to the girls and goes to work. Yuna sighs. Tori is always busy with work. Alina nods, thinking that she still has many things she would like to bring here to be cooked. Taking another bite of the casserole, Alina promises herself that she will bring something else here. It is hard to wake up early and carry vegetables all the way, but the opportunity to eat such a delicious lunch is worth the effort. The blonde girl with the dress sighs. She is talking to Tori. Her room is beautiful, but it is gradually becoming boring for her, even tiring. Tori asks if her room is too big for one person. Natalia notes with displeasure that it is still tiring. Natalia often sleeps here, but something is just missing, maybe because of her schedule, but the girl lacks a sense of security. Tori thinks about it and offers to help redo the interior, because it is enough to just rearrange the furniture to change the look of the room. The girl's eyes widen. Natalia beams and asks Tori to help her rearrange the furniture. Tori asks if it wouldn't be better to invite a girl to do the job. Resting her chin on her folded palms, Natalia smiles sweetly and says that she would have been happier if Tori had helped her with the interior changes. Natalia asks about the payment. Will her underwear suit him? Tori specifies that the girl had better tidy up all her things, including underwear, otherwise the young man will leave them in his mother and Letty's room. With an awkward smile, Natalia admits that she doesn't like cleaning at all. Tori curses silently. Natalia and Tori enter the blonde girl's room. The room is a mess. Clothes and shoes are scattered around. There are bottles of wine on the floor and table, and the bed is scattered, with pillows lying on the floor. Tori remembers that Letty cleaned the room last night, so why is it such a mess now? Natalia admits that she was choosing clothes, and then everything turned out like this. Tori asks if the girl can't just go and wash her things, because all her beautiful dresses will be ruined in such a mess. The girl closes her eyes tiredly, noting that it is all very tiring, because she will have to sort through so many dresses. Buying new dresses is not a problem for Natalia, because the brothel buys new ones for her every time. Sighing quietly, Tori makes a mental note of why the girl is so sloppy. The young man takes up the cleaning, and while folding the clothes, suggests that they start by folding all these dresses and hanging them in the closet. The underwear should be put away in the closet. The girl nods. Reluctantly, Natalia takes a hanger and puts one of the dresses with thin straps on it. However, Tori stops her, because the girl must first tidy up the clothes and then hang them on the hanger, otherwise they will be wrinkled. Natalia looks at the young man in surprise, stopping. She immediately throws the dress to Tori, asking him to do it himself. The young man catches the dress with a sigh. Tori carefully probes the dress, feeling something inside. Perhaps it is a hanger. The young man takes it out and opens his eyes in embarrassment. Natalia calmly explains that it is her negligee. With a gentle smile, the girl asks if Tori likes see-through negligees, should she wear one now. Tori refuses and asks to focus on cleaning. Natalia giggles sweetly. As Tori continues to clean up, he thinks, if only he weren't a child. While laying out her clothes, Tori finds a magical artifact that boils water. Natalia tells him that she recently received it from a client. The man said that it was his company's product. Natalia notes that the client must have been a big shot at the company. The young man looks at the blonde girl suspiciously, wondering if the big shot means the CEO. Tori is dumbfounded, thinking that Natalia has someone who can throw away dozens of gold coins like that. He mentally notes that Natalia is worth a lot. Natalia asks if Tori needs this magical item, since she doesn't use it anyway. The young man raises his hands, since the girl looks like she could throw the item at any moment. Tori refuses Natalia's offer. He can't take this jug for free. Tori narrows his eyes, mentally debating with himself. He really wants this item. After all, with this jug, he can elegantly boil water or brew hot tea. But Tori feels very selfish to take something that costs the equivalent of 100,000 yen. The young man nevertheless returns to cleaning, but Natalia continues to look at him, mentally noting that he does not need to resist. Finally, everything is ready, the cleaning is finished, the clothes are neatly hung in the closet, and the shoes are in their place in pairs. Everything literally shines with cleanliness. Tori wipes the sweat from his forehead. Natalia thanks the young man with a smile, noticing how graceful it has become inside. Tori puts his hand to his chin, considering rearranging the furniture. Natalia glances at him. There are a lot of black and purple tones in this room. Tori asks if the girl wants these colors in the curtains and carpets around. They can easily replace them with brighter colors. Natalia thinks about it, and the young man apologizes, not wanting to be too rude. Natalia admits that she hung black curtains to block out the sun, and dark carpets make the stains less noticeable. The young man immediately runs to change them. Natalia tries unsuccessfully to stop him. Natalia tries to explain that she will not be able to get used to such a bright, blinding light. This light does not allow her to relax. She asks the young man to find some intermediate option. The young man decides to consider this possibility. He suggests choosing something the color of wood. Such a color will create a natural, relaxing atmosphere. Natalia agrees to this option with a smile. The young man asks if the girl is okay with having to buy new furniture. Natalia is okay with it, because she wanted to go shopping herself. Natalia and Tori walk out onto a busy street. The blonde stretches with a smile. It's been a long time since she's walked around the village at this time. The young man mentally notes that the gazes of all the men around him are too intense. He forces himself not to look, tensely looking away. They continue walking down the busy street, catching surprised and confused glances from everyone around them. Tori asks if the girl only comes here at night. Natalia nods with a smile, so it has been a long time since she walked in such a crowd. Tori, looking at the girl, notes that Natalia seems to be having fun right now. Tori suggests going to a fabric store first. Curtains and rugs are easier to move, so they should prioritize their choices. Natalia looks at the young man in surprise, not understanding why they can't pay them to deliver their goods directly to the hotel. Tori thinks with resignation that if Helmina and her team heard such a proposal, they would cry. Natalia suggests going and having a snack at the counters beforehand. The girl admits that she is starting to feel hungry. Natalia takes the young man by the hand and pulls him along. Tori is confused. Because they haven't finished yet, the girl says with a smile that they can think about everything later. With a gentle smile, she asks if this isn't a good thing for Tori. More time outdoors means less work. Tori agrees and follows Natalia, who is considering her food choices. Suddenly, the girl stops. She approaches the young man and addresses him. Smiling, she asks for 2 pork skewers. The seller notes Natalia's beauty. Smiling sweetly, the shop assistant offers a discount just for such a beautiful girl, 1 copper coin and 5 pennies. Tori notes the privilege of the fair sex. He remembers that his mother and Letty sometimes get a discount too. Natalia cautiously answers the seller that she will not have such small money. The seller immediately exclaims embarrassedly that everything is fine and 1 coin will be enough. The main thing is that the girl visits his establishment again. Tori is surprised to hear the price, reduced by half. The young man is surprised in his mind, noting that if he had asked for a discount, the seller would have hated him. Natalia kindly apologizes and thanks the seller. The blonde girl smiles seductively, clutching skewers of meat in her hand, and promises that she will definitely come back here. The salesman pauses, embarrassed, feeling a wave of love envelop him. He thanks the girl. Tori and the men around him are quietly envious. Natalia smiles and apologizes for the wait and gives one skewer of meat to Tori. The young man thanks her, promising to give her 5 pennies. The blonde girl refuses, saying that it is a treat for accompanying her. Natalia thus returns the debt. Tori thanks her. The girl giggles quietly. Natalia takes a bite of the meat, quietly exclaiming. Tori immediately asks worriedly what's wrong with her. The girl immediately explains that the meat is very hot, but extremely tasty. Tori asks her to be careful not to burn her tongue. The girl asks the young man to try it too, and reminds him not to burn his tongue too. Natalia admits that the food in the tavern is very tasty, but sometimes the girl has a craving for street food. Tori reminds her that her dress is very beautiful, so she should eat more carefully. Natalia calmly says that she can buy another one. Tori is surprised to hear this reason again. Tori hands the blonde girl a handkerchief folded into 4 pieces. Just because a girl can buy a new dress doesn't mean she shouldn't care. These kinds of stains are easy to remove, and the dress is still in good condition. Tori adds that he'd feel sorry for the dress if she threw it away. Laughing quietly, Natalia notes that the young man really does look like his mother. Tori asks again in surprise, but the girl shakes her head and simply thanks for the scarf. With a gentle smile, Natalia bends down a little and asks Tori to wipe her. Tori turns away shyly and asks her to do it herself, and asks her to return the handkerchief to him later. First, Natalia wants to wash the handkerchief and then return it. Tori points out that she will use the laundry service at their tavern. He continues that this does not contradict common sense, since the boy, his mother, or Letty will wash the handkerchief anyway. Natalia is indignant, calling the boy rude. Frowning, the blonde girl assures that she will wash the scarf herself. Natalia indignantly notes that the young man's face shows distrust of her washing abilities. The young man immediately tries to justify himself by denying it. The girl laughs softly, causing Tori to look at her with a silent question. Natalia admits that when she is around him, she feels like she can relax and be a normal girl. Giggling, Natalia calls it very mysterious. Tori's eyes widen and her cheeks flush. The boy calls Natalia an irresponsible older sister. He says he wouldn't treat anyone else that way. Natalia, surprised, clarifies irresponsible. Tori starts listing. Natalia hates mornings, can't clean her room, didn't even bring a handkerchief with her now, and she's also gotten her dress dirty. And that's not all. Natalia immediately speeds up, not wanting to listen to this. She turns her attention to the soup counter. Tavern. The young man is called out to and asked in surprise why he bought all these things. In the middle of the room stands a girl in a black dress with lacing and bangs pulled back. She also asks about the delivery fee for all the furniture that is here. Tori immediately denies it, saying that it is all Natalia's furniture. Natalia appears behind the boy and nods that these are indeed her purchases. She wanted to transform her room. Tori's mother clarifies whether these are really Natalia's purchases, and tells how shocked she was when all this was delivered here. Tori apologizes for forgetting to tell her about this. The concept of delivery is not very common in this world, so home delivery here is very expensive. Exorbitantly so. Tori would even say that delivery here is borderline insane. It is a luxury that only the rich enjoy, so it is no wonder that Tori's mother was shocked when the delivery arrived. Tori's mother asks him to warn her next time. Tori agrees and is going to lift it all up. Natalia looks at the young man with doubt, because the table looks quite heavy. Tori thinks about it and decides that he will have to ask his father to lift the table. A cloaked figure appears behind them. Suddenly, the man takes hold of the table, causing Natalia's eyes to widen in surprise. It turns out to be a knight in iron armor. He holds the table in his hands without any difficulty. Natalia immediately asks him to help them with a smile. Tori thanks him and asks him to take the table to Natalia's room. Olgat, the knight, is surprised. Tori notes that without Olgat, they would have been stuck here for a long time. Natalia calls the knight a savior as Olgat carries the table. Tori notices that the knight has stopped at the door. He is holding a table in his hands, so he cannot open the door. The young man asks Natalia to open the door. The blonde girl tells the knight to just push the door, because she never locks it. Tori asks why Natalia says this with pride and why she never locks the door. The knight pushes the door with his shoulder as the girl and boy continue to talk. Natalia carefully notes that she does not lock the door because she lost the key. Tori immediately threatens to pay her for losing the key, so the girl should find it while rearranging the furniture. All three enter Natalia's room. The girl asks to put a table by the window. The knight does so. Tori, holding the curtains in her hands, simply looks around. Tori thanks Olgat and announces the time for the rearrangement. Olgat silently touches the boy's shoulder and shows his strength by bending his arms, thus indicating that he wants to help. Tori and Natalia thank him sincerely. The young man looks under the bed and finds the lost key there. Natalia immediately declares that this means that she never lost the key. Tori notes that it doesn't work that way. Olgat, Tori, and Natalia move the bed closer to the window. The young man places a small pot with a plant and a stuffed rabbit with closed eyes on the window. This completes the rearrangement. All three of them examine the results of their work. Natalia notes that the room has magically become brighter. Tori reminds him that the room was a gloomy purple before, and now he has hung some decorations to make the room even more relaxing. Natalia carefully touches the carpet. Under the surprised looks of Tori and Olgat, the girl lies down on the carpet and asks Tori to also try lying on the carpet for 50 gold coins. Tori is very embarrassed and remembers in his mind that the carpet is made of sheep monster, so it is no wonder that it is so pleasant to lie on. The boy carefully kneels down and lies down on the carpet, feeling how it will destroy his mind. Natalia then also asks Olgat to take off his armor and join them. The knight is surprised. Olgat is embarrassed. Natalia reassures him that she was just joking and tells him to come here just like that. But first, the knight must make sure that his armor is spotless. The knight eagerly raises his hand. Natalia notes that his armor always looks great and asks if he takes care of it every day. Olgath gives him a thumbs up. Lying on the carpet, Natalia asks Tori if he was in Olgat's room. Tori honestly answers that he was, because he does the daily cleaning. Natalia smiles and promises that she will leave him her underwear in the morning. Tori reminds him that he does not clean the girl's room. Either his mother or Letty does that. Then Natalia thinks about leaving some toys for innocent Letty. Tori immediately exclaims that the girl should not teach his little sister strange things. At this time, Olgat makes a final check of his suit for cleanliness with a white handkerchief. Olgat lies down on his back next to Tori and Natalia. The young man, lying on his stomach, wonders if the knight can feel comfort through his armor. He asks him out loud about the sensations. Around Olgat, and part of his helmet seems to be reddened in the places where his cheeks are. Tori mentally answers himself that it seems like the knight can still feel comfort through his armor. Natalia notes that she said something very close to vulgarity. Tori asks her not to continue, and the girl agrees to shut up. Natalia sits down and comments that the room is now absolutely wonderful. She looks at the table and says that it is low enough to use without getting up. The girl remarks that she could literally live on this carpet. Tori reminds her that Natalia did not use the table in her original room. She agrees, noting that it's a good thing. When she's not using it, she can easily move it out of the way, unlike big, bulky tables. Tori admits that it's convenient. Natalia lies down on the carpet again, and seriously considers using the carpet as a bed. Tori criticizes this idea, saying that despite the comfort of the carpet, she should sleep on a normal mattress. Suddenly, a little girl with a ponytail bursts into the room, shouting that her brother needs to get to work. She looks around the room in surprise, remembering that it didn't look like this before. Tori, propping herself up on her elbows, reminds the girl to knock when she enters a room. Letty immediately apologizes, but Natalia reassures her, noting that she is not against it. Standing up, Natalia asks the girl if she would like to join them. Letty bows and thanks her. The trio sits on the carpet while Letty looks at the design and clarifies that it was her brother who came up with this design. Tori explains that it was all born out of a shared discussion. Natalia smiles and shares with Letty that this carpet costs 50 gold pieces. Letty exclaims in disbelief. Natalia invites her to lie down on the carpet. The girl sits on her knees, and then he lies down on the carpet, exhaling contentedly. Tori, looking at her sister tenderly, agrees that this is indeed an unusual sensation. Tori mentally admits to himself that if there were bed linens made of this material, he would never get out of it. Letty suddenly jumps up, reminding them that it's lunchtime and they need to go downstairs. Tori groans quietly. Letty continues to be indignant that the young man played and rested a lot today. Tori corrects her that he did not play, but listened to the demands of their esteemed guest. Letty is indignant again and tells him to get up. Natalia watches them silently. Before Tori leaves, she addresses him. Natalia hands him the magical object, the very same jug. Tori looks at the object in shock, saying that it is too expensive and the young man cannot accept it. An ominous aura appears around Natalia, causing the boy to look at the girl with concern. Her experience with them today is worth more than this item, so she insists that Tori took it. The girl then wishes them a good day and throws Tori and Letty out of her room. The young man examines the jug, realizing that Natalia will not take it back now. Letty notes that he is very lucky. Letty whispers that she knows where their mother hides the tea leaves, so they can have some tea later. Tori agrees. The boy holds dirty dishes, and the girl clutches a rag. Tori and Letty's mother says there isn't much work to do now, so they can rest. With a smile, their mother says that if help is needed, she will definitely call them. Letty immediately says with a sly smile that they can now try to use the thing that Natalia gave them. Tori sets the pitcher on the table, waiting for Letty to find the tea in the nightstand. The girl continues to look for it, grumbling that her mother hid them really deep. Tori asks how she even knows about it. Having found the treasured tea, Letty happily tells that she once saw their mother drinking tea, so she invited her to try it in exchange for the girl keeping it a secret. But her mother hid the tea somewhere else. But Letty knows her mother's character, and it wasn't hard for her to find the tea. Tori thinks, a little tensely, that Letty doesn't realize how scary she can be sometimes. The children decide to get started. They take the jug, press the lid, and pour hot water into small bowls. Letty notes with admiration how convenient it is when hot water comes out with one press. As Tori pours the tea, she nods, because this way they can drink hot water at any time. It will be especially useful during the winter. Ignoring the technologically advanced world of electronics from which the young man came, Tori notes that such things are very rare in this world where science has not advanced that much. It is safe to say that only rich merchants or nobles can afford to buy such things. Therefore, the young man is very grateful to Natalia for such a gift. Watching with curiosity as the hot steam rises from the bowl, Letty asks why Tori added water before adding the tea leaves. The young man explains that it makes the tea more delicious. Tori remembers how in the morning Mikhail told him how to brew black tea properly. First, you need to heat the cup. Letty immediately interrupts him, asking why he needs to heat the cup. Tori explains that if the cup is cold, the tea will cool down faster, which will ultimately ruin the taste and aroma of the tea. Letty exclaims in surprise. Tori looks at Letty and realizes that the girl sort of understood, but didn't understand why. The young man says in his mind that he had never prepared black tea this way before. He had heard before that the cup needed to be warmed up, but he didn't know why until Mikhail told him. Tori asks Letty to help her add tea leaves to the brew. The boy asks warily if their mother taught her how many leaves to add. Letty admits that she does it with her eyes, just like their mother. Tori freezes, trying to convince herself that it's not that bad. Apparently they should pour the hot water in faster. This will make the tea leaves splash, which will give them more flavor. Letty watches in awe as Tori pours the hot water in. She notes with admiration that the tea leaves are moving all over the teapot. The young man puts down the hourglass and says that now they need to wait. Letty watches with excitement as the leaves in the teapot move as if alive. The young man agrees with the girl's words with a smile. Tea leaves float in the water stream and then slowly fall to the bottom. Watching them sway in the amber-colored tea, the boy seems to be watching autumn leaves fall in slow motion. Letty notices that the sand in the watch has stopped falling. She asks her brother to be more careful. Only then does Tori notice it. The young man says that now they will drain the cups and can already try the tea. Letty asks for more tea, but Tori explains that she alternates between cups, pouring a little at a time to make sure the tea is equally strong in each cup. Letty asks why her brother doesn't open his own tea shop. Tori says it's a bit difficult, because there are so many types of tea, and each one is prepared differently. However, a small cafe wouldn't be so bad. It would be a more relaxing job than working in a tavern. The only downside is that you have to be diligent, knowledgeable, and very prepared. Letty, with a burning look, notes that the main thing is that it tastes good. Tori smiles and gets ready to taste the tea. The young man takes a small sip. This tea is quite strong. The aroma of the tea penetrates his nostrils. Letty's eyes widen in delight, and she admits that it tastes much better than when her mother let her try it. And then she wonders, uncertainly, if she's imagining it. Tori immediately turns to her, telling her to quickly take it back. Letty explains that she hasn't drunk it that often, so she's not sure. Tori hasn't drunk it that often either, so he wants to let Michael try it next time. Tori notes that the tea is still easy to drink despite its strong aroma. Letty immediately remembers that her mother bought the tea for its pleasant aroma. Tori thanks Natalia mentally, because thanks to her they can enjoy tea so easily. From now on, they will drink it more often. Tori admits that good tea makes him want to eat cookies or something sweet. Letty says that she and her mother finished the cookies last time, but there might still be something left here. Letty enthusiastically begins searching the nightstands. Suddenly, Letty's eyes land on something. She pulls out a small box and says with a smile that she found a little of her mother's stash. Tori mentally calls her a terrible child. Letty smiles and says they can take some, but Tori is wary in case their mother finds out. Letty immediately smiles and states how they could take something that doesn't exist. Tori immediately fully supports her. Nothing bad will happen because they haven't eaten anything. Suddenly the children hear their mother's voice, indignantly asking about them drinking her tea. Tori's mom hands him a bag of money and sends him off to buy some bread for lunch. He's supposed to get a loaf of bread, some fruit pastries, and he can choose the rest himself. Tori asks if he needs to shop at Dusty's. Mom nods. Tori goes shopping, thereby shirking work. The weather outside is wonderful, so walking is much more pleasant than working indoors. The street is busy, children are running, and couples are strolling. The young man notices a familiar sign. He's here. This is the bakery. Verrier. I wonder if Dusty is working there today. The young man looks at the sign with determination. He has one mission, but he is here for another reason as well. Tori needs Dusty for his plan. A few days ago, Tori and his father went to wash themselves in the public baths. Abel asks if Tori brought soap and a towel, and reminds him that they should meet after the boy is done. Tori puts his index finger and thumb together in an okay gesture. A young man enters a bathhouse. There are quite a few people around. In one of the baths, Tori sees familiar faces. They are Carlo, a rosy-cheeked, fair-haired boy with a towel on his head, and Hart, a dark-haired boy also with a towel on his head. Carlo greets Tori with a smile, who asks about Dusty's location. Carlo, turning to face Tori and leaning on the edge of the pool, says he hasn't seen him. Hart confirms that Dusty hates swimming, and unless he's covered in mud, Dusty won't come here. The boy nods and says he'll take a shower first before diving in. He asks how long the boys will be here. With a calm face, Hart says that he was about to leave, but since Tori is here, he will wait for him. Carlo agrees with Hart. The last time they met, he was busy, so he was not able to talk properly with Tori. Tori immediately speeds up, promising that he will be back in a moment. Tori is standing in the shower, soaping his hair. When he returns, the boys tease him that Tori took too long to wash, and they are about to leave. The three of them climb into the same bath, towels over their heads. Carlo asks how he's doing at the inn. Tori shares that it's always full of people, so business is going well. Hart, opening one eye, looks at the boy as he answers. With a sweet smile, Carlo asks if the tavern is doing well because of the hamburger. Tori wonders if the hamburger helps them make quite a bit of money in terms of food for their guests. Hart is confused and tries to repeat the word hamburger out loud. Carlo remembers that the dark-haired boy does not know what they mean. Tori explains that it is a sandwich with a patty, which is made of ground meat, mashed and grilled. Hart is interested. Tori asks Carlo how he knew about this. The blonde youth admits that many people have come to them asking what kind of meat was used in Tori's hamburgers, which they had tasted at the youth's family's tavern, but Carlo himself has never tried them. Tori nods, noting that everything is clear to him. The boy wonders what Carlo is worried about. How can he give advice on what kind of meat to use if he has never tried the burger they make? And it's kind of crazy to think that Tori's creation is spreading at the speed of light. The boys exclaim that Tori should definitely let them try his hamburger. Tori notes that they came in at a good time. Tori says he plans to make a hamburger. making a sandwich out of a patty, vegetables, and a bun. In his mind, he adds that he will use the money to buy himself a magical ice-making tool. Tori adds that Dusty could also be called Nye. The boys immediately jump up excitedly. Hart clarifies about the use of vegetables and says that he is prepared to select the most exquisite vegetables for Tori's burger. Carlo notes that this sounds fun and asks to call him when the boy is finished. Tori thanks them. Tori tells a story to a boy with a short ponytail. This is Dusty, the baker's son. Dusty is dressed in a baker's uniform, his hands folded in front of him. He clarifies that Tori came to him to bake him buns for his hamburger. Tori nods and explains that the filling will be placed between the buns. Dusty narrows his eyes skeptically and notes that what he's describing is literally identical to a sandwich. Tori silently agrees, as she doesn't know the difference either. Tori explains that they are similar but not the same thing, as they will use buns instead of sliced bread. The hamburger is a great combination of all the ingredients. Dashi thinks about it. Dusty agrees with a smile, because the young man will definitely cook something worthwhile. Smiling happily, Tori says that he will inform Carlo and Hart. Dusty should stop by the tavern when he is free. Dusty asks about the errand Tori came on. Tori nods, asking for some advice for lunch. Dusty brings fruit pastries. Today there is a cranberry and blueberry one. The young man notes that it sounds very tasty. Looking at the counter, Tori picks up one for her mother and one for Letty, then asks about the stuffed bread. Dusty says he's having it with empinas today. Carlo gave him some leftovers, so the young cook added it to the buns. Tori's eyes sparkle as she looks at the buns, which are crispy on the outside and stuffed with gravy on the inside. Dusty smiles as she brags about her cooking. Tori takes 2 of these and a loaf of bread. Dusty, sighing, states the price of 5 coppers and 7 pennies. Tori asks him not to sigh before he names the price, or it will seem as if the baker's son is counting incorrectly. Dusty says that it is a habit, and asks if the boy can't just trust him. The boys say goodbye. Tori stops by Carlo and Hart's on his way to the tavern. Tori sighs contentedly that she can now start cooking. Soon the voices of children are heard in the tavern. This is Carlo, Dusty, and Hart. They arrived quite early. Dusty asks why Tori is so surprised by their early arrival. The young man admits that he has only chopped up the meat and nothing is ready yet. The boys immediately head to the table with interest. Dusty studies the patty with interest. Hart, with a bright smile, praises the stunning onion, and Carlo says that Tori could have asked him for help. Slightly tensely, Tori asks them all to be quiet. The young man continues cooking, commenting on the process. He adds salt and pepper to the mince, then stirs it. When the mince becomes sticky, you need to add eggs and onions, and then stir again. Now we need to grill it and then serve it as sandwiches. Tori asks the kids to take their seats, because not everything is ready yet. Carlo says he likes meat, so he'll keep watching. Hart also refuses to leave, because if it's a vegetable-related thing, he needs to be involved. Dusty also stays put, noting that sitting and waiting is boring. Tori notes that they're pressuring him. However, he continues cooking. A grilled patty is already on the buns, and a ring of juicy tomato is on top. After adding lettuce and a bun on top, Tori declares the burger ready. With an admiring smile, Dusty agrees that a hamburger is different from a sandwich. He can't wait to try it. But Tori reminds him that he needs to sit down at the table first. The boys sit down at the table, and Tori brings them hamburgers. Hart notes admiringly that even in Tori's hamburgers, beauty is unmatched. Carlo asks if they should eat with their hands. Tori nods, saying that if they get a little dirty, all they need to do is wipe their hands. Tori notices Carlo staring at the burger. Dusty takes his first bite, and Tori quickly asks how it tastes. Dusty's eyes widen in delight, and she exclaims. Hart is also impressed. The lettuce leaf amazes with its freshness and elasticity. The young man praises Mr. Abel's ability to handle a knife. Tori promises to pass on the praise to her father. Dusty chimes in, saying that the lettuce does play a role, but it's more of a background flavor. Hart exclaims indignantly. He points out how much the lettuce improves the texture of the dish. It contrasts so much with the strong flavor of the patty, the steak, making it much easier to eat. Hart exclaims that the lettuce is the foundation of the burger. Dusty continues the argument, noting that the bun, which binds the flavors together by soaking up the meat's juices, is a better base for a hamburger. Tori makes a mental note that Hart and Dusty really like to argue. Tori asks the boys to cool down, because every ingredient plays an important role in the hamburger. The young man turns to Carlo to ask his opinion. The fair-haired boy admits that it tastes better than he expected. He asks if it was Eggfon's meat that Tori used for the cutlet. Tori confirms. Carlo licks his lips and says that it's pretty tasty, but there's a but. Dusty and Hart turn to Carlo in surprise. With a smile, Carlo notes that it will taste better if several types of meat are mixed in the cutlet. The blonde boy suggests adding pork next time. Tori takes his advice on board. Hart quietly adds that the same goes for lettuce. Hart notes that with such a strong flavor and dressing, it would be better to choose a special kind of lettuce that would soften the flavor, and adding chewier vegetables would also be nice. Tori nods and is reminded of the bun. Dusty says they need better buns that will soak up juices and sauces better. The bun that is currently used on the burger is not good for this, so the sauce and juices leak out of the burger. Tori notes that discussing the burger with the boys was a good idea, as they understand the purpose of each ingredient. Such good analysis in just one bite. Tori asks Dusty if they make the buns that go into the burger. Dusty shakes his head in denial. The chef's son admits that their cooking philosophy is based on something else. Their bakery mainly produces bread intended for self-consumption, but he promises to come up with something. Tori looks at Dusty with admiration, noting that this is exactly what he expected from the baker's son. Dusty is indignant that he does not need the boys' banter. The boys note that despite this, Tori is amazing for being able to come up with such a dish. Even if they criticize the hamburger, it is still very tasty. It is something new, so it will sell well. They promise to use their knowledge and experience to help Tori improve this dish. Tori is slightly confused by their praise. The young man clutches the tray in embarrassment, realizing that he can't help but blush from the boys' praise. The boys continue to remark that this idea was very original. Tori thanks everyone for the compliments and offers to test out some ideas. All three readily agree. Before this, however, all the boys hand Tori their empty plates, asking for more. Hart asks for more salad. Carlo brings the meat and asks if he can cook it here. Then Hart shows up and sees the meat Carlo brought. He notes that everyone has a role to play and promises to collect the most delicious vegetables in the world. Then Dusty shows up and brings some samples. He notes that there is no point in trying them without the other ingredients. When Tori says that all the ingredients are there, Dusty immediately prepares to taste. Tori suggests meeting in 3 days at the tavern. He asks to bring their best, and they will hold another tasting. 3 days later, at the tavern, Tori notices something unusual. This is unusual. Guests he did not invite. They are Natalia, Mikhail, and Ulgat. They all say they are looking forward to the tasting and wish Tori good luck. Mikhail excitedly tells how they heard that Tori has perfected his new recipe, and today is the first day of tasting. And that is why they are all here. Tori asks how they heard about it. At this moment, a figure materializes behind the young man. A girl with short hair attacks Tori from behind, indignantly. She is indignant that the boy could exclude her from the gourmet group. He should be ashamed of this, so today he must accept her. Tori asks Isla to help them with the counter. The girl asks excitedly about the sale of the boy's new creation. Tori says they work so hard on the burger, so it would be nice to sell some, and he's the most available today. Isla says, that sounds great, and she's willing to help. Tori mentally exhales that she has forgiven him for leaving her out. Natalia turns to Tori, saying that she is already hungry and specifically skipped lunch to try Tori's creation. The guys decide to get down to business. The more people, the more opinions. Tori goes to the table with resignation, realizing that he will have to cook all this alone. Mikhail, Natalia, and Ulgat support him. The young man fries juicy cutlets. Then he selects lettuce leaves. Then he pours a special sauce over the cutlet. Soon the processed hamburger is ready. 3 large hamburgers are displayed on the plate. Mikhail immediately exclaims with delight. The fair-haired guy is already reaching for the hamburger, but from the side he hears that he shouldn't try it. Isla points out that these are the boys' burgers, and that their turn will come later. Michael, dumbfounded, asks to at least touch them, because they look so delicious. However, The guys hand over the tasting to the guests, saying that they have already tried it during the first tasting, and now they are interested in their reaction. Mikhail thanks them with tears in his eyes. Natalia notes that it looks like a sandwich, but it is not. Isla asks about the method of consumption, and Natalia notes that it is big and thick. However, she is immediately stopped from making any further comments. Tori says you can use a spoon and fork if you want. Isla refuses the utensils and prepares to take her first bite. Isla chews the hamburger with pleasure. Mikhail, without taking his eyes off the dish, notes that all the ingredients go well together, and despite the fact that it is a mixture of different tastes, overall, it is harmonious. Blushing, Mikhail explains how they changed the filling to better suit this set of products. Tori credits Carlo with the filling, who smiles as he admits that they used egg fan and black buffalo to make the patty. Mikhail clarifies the distribution of meat. Carlo honestly admits that 70% of the meat is egg fan, and the remaining 30% is black buffalo meat. This is approximate. Mikhail clarifies that they probably had to put in a lot of effort to find the ideal ratio. Carlo is surrounded by an aura of hopelessness. He admits that a lot of effort was spent on this. He even dreamed about how egg fans and black buffaloes chased him every day. Everyone immediately begins to thank him for his diligence and hard work. Natalia notes that the lettuce leaf is also very tasty. It is crispy and soft at the same time. Hart immediately appears next to Tori and explains that they use 2 types of lettuce for this royal and bouquet. Beaming, Hart explains that the bouquet variety has bright colors and soft leaves, while the king variety is juicy, sweet, and crunchy. Using both varieties gives the burger a nice texture. Mikhail is surprised to note that he has never heard of the royal variety of lettuce. Hart proudly explains that their supplier, a village, only recently began harvesting it. It is grown from seeds harvested from monsters called Vigelitus. When everyone marvels at the lettuce's origins, Hart asks why their monster meat is fine, but their vegetables are questionable. He vouches for the vegetables being edible. Isla notes that this is a good point. When it comes to buns, Dusty appears. He proudly says that these buns were baked by him. Wonderful aroma, pleasant taste, soft and fluffy. This is all about his bun. It is his pride. While biting into a burger, Isla is indignant that Dusty praised himself before the girl had a chance to do so. Tori notes that this time Dusty put in a lot of effort and passion. Dusty always takes his tasks seriously. Looking at the hamburger, Natalia praises it, noting that it is already ready for sale. Tori worriedly asks everyone's opinion on whether the hamburger will sell well. Everyone immediately replies with admiration that it will definitely sell, and Natalia will even prefer a hamburger to regular sandwiches. Olgat stands up, causing Tori to be surprised. With a gesture of placing her hands in a circle above her, Olgat says it was simply amazing. Inspired, the trio decides it's time to get down to business. The perfect hamburger is ready for sale. Morning, tavern. Rubbing his sleepy eyes, Tori's father asks why Tori got up so early. To trade behind the counter? The young man nods. Tori will cut the lettuce and tomatoes at the counter, but first he will cook the patties here. Tori tells his father that they plan to sell 50 of them today. Looking at the large piece of meat with resignation, Tori mentally realizes that it will be a lot of work to mince it with a kitchen knife. Maybe he should see if any of the guests can make a meat grinder. Abel, clutching a lettuce leaf, proudly celebrates the day his son opened his stand. Tori admits that the fact that everyone liked the burger was the impetus for spreading it. Tori also adds that he would like to buy something. His father turns to him and suggests that he just say what he wants. Abel will buy it without any problem. Encouraged and looking at his father with shining eyes, Tori asks if his father can buy him a magical tool that blows cold air. His father immediately turns away and wishes him luck with the trade. Tori recalls that her father's kindness was short-lived, and how he backed out of buying the magical instrument. Carrying a small wooden box, Tori looks for Isla. Isla greets Tori, smiling as she notices that he has everything ready. The boy nods, as they cannot cook burgers without preparation. Tori notes Isla's high spirits. Isla admits with a smile that this is the first time they are doing something themselves, instead of just helping their parents. This makes her very excited. Tori brings her down to earth, telling her not to get her hopes up too high. Selling even 20 for the first time would be an achievement. Isla corrects him that it's not about the number of burgers sold, it's about them becoming independent. but Tori reminds him that he'll get in trouble if they don't sell enough, because the boy really wants that magical tool. Isla huffs indignantly, reminding him that she knows about it. Isla and Tori move the counter to the right place next to the others. The girl at the next counter becomes interested in them. They start a small dialogue. Isla asks what the girl sells. She sells juice. She tells him with a bright smile that she has prepared kegs of juice pressed from the fresh fruit she received this morning. Isla exhales in admiration. This girl will simply pour juice from barrels into cups so that passers-by can easily buy it and leave. Apparently she has experience in this. The girl also asks the guys what they plan to sell. Isla proudly answers that they sell hamburgers. The girl's eyes widen in surprise, asking what it is. Tori sighs mentally, realizing that it was the last thing she expected. Tori reminds herself that burgers don't exist in this world. Isla enthusiastically tells the girl at the juice stand about a hamburger. She calls it a sandwich with a smile. Isla indignantly shouts that it's a hamburger, not a sandwich. The girl waves at them, promising that she will definitely come try the burger. Isla runs up to Tori with determination, ordering him to make the burger so that the girl will understand what it is. Tori reminds them that they still need Hart and Dusty, who will soon bring the remaining ingredients. Noting that things are a bit noisy, Dusty approaches them with a wooden box. The boys shout that he's just in time. Dusty smiles, saying he doesn't understand what's going on, but he's happy to help. The freshly baked buns have arrived. Tori cracks the box open. Tori inhales the wonderful aroma of the buns with admiration. Dusty smiles and says that there are about 100 of them, maybe that's a lot. But he decided to play it safe just in case. The blonde-haired boy also hands Tori paper bags. Dusty explains that it's for wrapping burgers, or how they thought they were going to sell them. Tori admits he'd forgotten all about it. Tori can't believe he missed this opportunity, so he thanks Dusty sincerely. He picks up the bags and accidentally notices the signature of La Bakery on the bag. Verrier. Winking, Dusty explains that this is free advertising for them, so Tori doesn't have to pay for the bags. Tori can't help but notice his insight and says that he will definitely use the bags. And that way, his family's bakery will definitely get new customers. Dusty smiles and hopes that Tori will supply them with hamburgers. Dusty leaves, saying he still has some things to deliver to other places. They say goodbye. Now only Hart is left with the lettuce and tomatoes. Isla notes that they haven't prepared anything yet, and then they see Hart rushing towards them with a box. Tori will now begin frying the meat, and Isla should prepare the royal and bouquet lettuce leaves. Isla nods eagerly. Hart is a little tired. Gradually, the streets fill up with people, and passers-by begin to stop near the stalls. The girl at the juice stall has already started selling. Isla notices the girls dealing, but Tori says there is no rush. Now it's their turn to shine. Pouring some oil on the burner, the young man puts the meat in. The aroma of juicy roasted meat spreads around, making people involuntarily pay attention to their counter. 4 juicy patties are frying, releasing rich aromas. Tori puts the patties away, and Isla is already carrying the prepared, halved buns. Finally, their first burger is ready. A young man approaches their counter and asks how much something that looks like a sandwich costs. Isla tries to explain that it's a hamburger, but the passerby doesn't care. He cares about the price. With a bright smile, the girl says that the price of this burger is 4 copper coins. The young man looks at her, dumbfounded. He immediately leaves, noting that it is too expensive. Isla immediately shouts after him, trying to stop him. Isla is outraged that the man didn't even want to try it. Tori points out that the passerby didn't know it was tasty, so he didn't see the point in buying their hamburger. Tori understands that some people definitely won't spend money on food they don't know. The young man expected this. Suddenly, a man in a raincoat approaches the counter. He is a silver-haired youth with dark skin and green eyes. A cloak hid his oriental-like robes. Tori understands that this is a man from a desert country. This is a great rarity. Tori asks if he needs help. The young man asks what is being sold here. Tori shows the dish on the tray, saying that it is a hamburger and that it costs 4 copper coins. After thinking for a while, the green-eyed boy buys the hamburger. Blushing slightly, Tori thanks the young man from the bottom of her heart. The first burger is sold. Now Tori is worried whether the passerby will like this dish. The boy looks at the package with a slightly confused expression. Tori realizes that he doesn't know how to eat it. Isla smiles and tells him to just take it and eat it. The silver-haired boy is still a little confused. Isla and Tori watch as the boy bites into a burger. They seem to see the boy's aura, which changes with each passing second. Suddenly the hood falls from the boy's head, revealing a bright and admiring look. Isla and Tori look at him in surprise. Tori bashfully thanks him as the boy tries to put his hood back on. The hooded youth quickly leaves, and Isla asks Tori what the desert people do to show their gratitude. Tori is not sure. The young man looks at his palm, on which lie 4 copper coins. This is their first hamburger sold. The girl at the juice stand asks if they're ready. Isla says she can try their burger. The girl is stunned when she hears the price of 4 copper coins for a sandwich. But this is no ordinary sandwich, and Isla asks him to take it back. The girl hands them the money, hoping that she will not be disappointed with the food. After taking one bite, the girl screams about how amazing it is. Isla smiles proudly. The girl smiles admiringly and apologizes for calling it a sandwich. Their hamburger is really delicious, so it is definitely worth 4 copper coins. A man appears next to the counter, also expressing a desire to buy a hamburger. After a while, Tori's stand is packed, with many people queuing to get a chance to try a burger. Isla continues to recruit new clients, and Tori still can't believe what's happening. At one point, Isla notes that the buns are gone, meaning they managed to sell everything. Tavern, Letty carries 5 fruit juices on a tray. Tori, Hart, Carlo, Isla, and Dusty are sitting at the table. Letty hands Tori some juice and hints that she would like to try working behind the counter too. Apparently, because Isla was with them, Letty feels abandoned. So Tori, looking at the girl clutching a tray to her chest, asks if she would like to help them next time. Letty immediately blossoms into a smile, asking to teach her everything. Natalia raises her glass and says that it is time for a toast. Everyone turns to Tori, waiting for him to speak. He begins by saying that to celebrate their success with the hamburger stands, we need to drink to success. Everyone raises their drinks in unison. Dusty still can't believe they sold everything. Carlo reminds him that people were lining up. Hart proudly bets that everyone was touched by the taste of his vegetables. Tori confirms his words, remembering that the elves were very complimentary about them. There was even a weirdo who asked for more lettuce without the patty. Dusty, with a serious expression, clarifies that his buns were in great demand. With an equally serious aura, Carlo says that the best part of the burger was the meat, and it was all thanks to him. Tori mentally notes that they are about to argue for hours again, but Isla interrupts them. Isla reminds them that they have Tori to thank, because without him, none of this would exist, and they wouldn't all be working together to make burgers. The guys immediately agree that Tori made the biggest contribution. You can't argue with that. However, the guys immediately start arguing over second place. Dusty is confident about the buns. Carlo reminds about the perfect cutlets, and Hart exclaims about the idea of using 2 types of salad together. Isla doesn't understand why it matters who came in second place as long as everyone contributed. Tori says it dies just like to show off. All things considered, Tori was lucky that the burgers sold well. Now they could keep the stand up and make money. Eventually, he would be able to save up enough money to buy a cooling magic tool. Now, he had to work hard so that when summer came, he could have a wonderful time. While Tori was thinking about his own business, the boys around him continued to argue. Isla, opening the menu, says that she will leave these fools and finally order something for herself. Natalia suggests ordering something together. Tori reminds them that they made a lot of money on burgers. Isla immediately asks if they don't pay him if they order here, so he gets even more money. The girl immediately suggests that they have a party at her tavern next time. Ralph comes up to Tori and puts his arm around his shoulder. Ralph whispers to Tori, asking her to cook him a hamburger with 2 patties. Tori agrees, but only if he pays. Ralph immediately asks to cook it once for free. Helmina asks the fair-haired man not to be selfish. Mikhail also adds that he would be interested in trying a hamburger with a different sauce. Ulgad agrees. Tori grumbles, asking to be allowed to rest. The others continue to share their wishes with him. As for the reward for hard work, it's nice to celebrate and enjoy time with your friends. Tori smiles. Indeed, the best way to live life is to work in moderation and enjoy it.